subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Someone with fruit abilities. But don't panic. This foggy space is beyond the scope of the world. We can't hurt each other. Not to mention, judging from our appearance, you can probably discover this shocking secret. He looked like a close brother and comforted Su Mo, the god killer. In the end, he gave up. Another young man, Su Mo, added in a timely manner. That's right. You may already have some guesses in your mind, but let me tell you formally. Then, the young Su Mo looked like he was going to tell a big secret. He announced his discovery with a very serious expression. We are the same person. We are all Su Mo. Hear his words. God killer Su Mo was stunned. I couldn't help but froze and felt a little numb. Is this what you want to say? However, under the expectant gaze of young Su Mo, he finally nodded and said what the other party wanted. Oh, so that's what it is, Dash. It looked like I had learned something new, and it was amazing. The acting is just not up to par, and the line readers are dry, making it seem a little too good to read. He didn't seem too surprised to see him. Admiral Su Mo thought for a moment. I think this news may not be too exciting, or the other party is still unwilling to believe it. Then he broke another explosive news. The most important thing is that we can share each other's power just by contact. This is a very powerful golden finger. On our side, one is a Navy admiral and the other has the mystic eyes of death. If you can share our power, you will be much smoother in the other world. So saying, Navy Admiral Su Mo raised his palm to Su Mo, who was dressed in modern casual clothes and looked like an ordinary person. The young Su Mo also raised his palm impatiently. It seemed that he was waiting for a high five. He looked helpful. They really wanted to help the newcomers. Godslayer Su Mo had a weird expression on his face and stretched out his hands. Pa! Pa! Contact completed. Power sharing completed. Then, a roar resounded throughout the foggy space. Fuck! What level of thigh is this? Feeling the vigorous power in his body, the pirate Su Mo almost knelt down. Hiss! The brain is shaking. The young man Su Mo, who possessed the death eyes, also covered his head. I thought I was a big shot. Unexpectedly, this new guy was a big shot. More than 10 times stronger than them combined. From this perspective, wouldn't it be embarrassing for them to pretend to be cool? Chapter 173. Fortunately, he was just showing off in front of himself. Even if it fails, it's not particularly embarrassing. Just as they were covering their faces, the young Su Mo soon discovered that the power he shared obviously did not belong to the same system. Not to mention the power of God and magic, there is also the power of Ultraman Tiga. This is definitely not a power that a single world can obtain. Could it be that we are actually the newcomers? Su Mo from the pirate world also discovered this. He and young Su Mo looked at each other. There was silence. The two of them immediately understood why some people said that they were so embarrassed that they could dig out 3 rooms and 2 living rooms from the ground. That doesn't seem to be a lie. It's the same as their current mood. But ha. Su Mo from the God Killer world saw the expressions of the two of them. Finally, I couldn't help it and burst out laughing. I laughed until my stomach hurt, and then I stopped, seeing him laughing loudly. The faces of Navy Admiral Su Mo and young Su Mo were as dark as the bottom of a pot. Embarrassing and angry. At this time, Su Mo in the world of God Killer stopped. Then, he asked with teasing luck. 2 seniors. Nah. Excuse me. How are you feeling now? The two looked at each other in silence and nodded. 293. It suddenly occurred to me that it seemed possible to kill people and silence them. I want to die with him, although they can't hurt each other in the foggy space at all. However, looking at the two people's grief and anger, Su Mo from the God Killer world waved his hand and stopped teasing. It's not like that. We are born from the same roots, so there's no need to rush into mutual conflict. After this moment, his expression finally became serious. Looking at your powers, one should come from the One Piece world and the other from the Shinhua world, right? Both Su Mo nodded. To be honest, this golden finger came a little late for me. Navy Admiral Su Mo sighed. I've already become a general. I'm basically at full level before I come here. If I had come earlier, why would I have to work so hard? No need to say more. In the world of pirates, everyone present knows how hard and dangerous it is to train from an ordinary person to a general. Compared to him, I have much better luck. Su Mo from the moon-shaped world smiled. After I traveled through time, it seemed that I had replaced Nanaya Shiki's existence. Although he encountered the crisis of annihilation from the beginning, he was adopted by Tono Shinjiu after a narrow escape. Unlike the original Tono Shiki, who forgot his killing skills, I am not only proficient in the Seven Knights assassination technique, but also have an understanding of modern technology. Not long after being adopted, that old bastard Tono Shinkyu purchased 2 twins from the Wu Jing family. On that day, before he had time to take action, I found the right opportunity, mixed the chlorine with disinfectant water, and added some other scientific methods, and finally poisoned the old thing to death. There's not much to say next. It was when I was dealing with Shiki Tono that I accidentally awakened the demonic eye of death. Su Mo from Shinua World put it lightly. But everyone knows that when you are still a child, no matter how powerful the Seven Knights assassination technique is, it must be compromised. In this state, I want to use scientific knowledge to kill this guy, Shinhisa Tono. Even in the 1990s, when forensic doctors were even rarer, it was not a simple matter. Awakening the death eye is a danger of narrow escape. It's definitely not as plain as he said. 153 Tsukihime, the realm of the sky, the Fourth Holy Grail War. It seems that you are working very hard too. I heard Su Mo from Shinua World say this. Su Mo in the world of God Killers suddenly felt that he seemed to be lucky. If you fail to awaken the golden finger from the beginning, or just spend an ordinary life, or he might just risk his life and kill the god. How can it be as easy as now? So, what you are traveling through now is mainly the plot of UG. God Killer Su Mo touched his chin and analyzed. The moon world has many parallel worlds. Every world line is different. The Tono family mentioned by the newcomer is one of the important backgrounds in the story of Tsukihime. Compared with the later, more famous Fate Zero, Fate Stake Knight, and Fate Granitor, Tsukihime is much less famous, but it still has quite a few die-hard fans. Although Su Mo had known about it before, he didn't know much about the plot. I only know about the scumbag Tono Shinhisa. However, Su Mo in the Shinua world has already dealt with Tono Shinkyu. Next, it should be the last remaining enemy of the Tono family, Tono Shiki. Shiki Tono is the host body of Roa, the snake of Akasha, one of the 27 ancestors of the dead apostles. For the former Shinua Su Mo, it was easily difficult to solve. And behind Luo, one of the ceilings of Shinua world, is also involved. The true ancestor's princess, Tsukihime Elquit Brunstad. In simple terms, this guy has a big move that can knock down a mirror version of the moon, although it should not be able to knock down a real moon. But at least it is a combat power that can destroy the continent. And Su Mo in normal state, without using Tiga transformation, the strength is roughly the same level. Of course, although it is the same level, but that is just the ability level is similar. In terms of combat power, Su Mo must be a complete winner. Not to mention, usually Elquite can only exert 30% of combat power. Su Mo also has a killing weapon, such as the Mystic Eyes of Death, just using the power of the God Slayer. Su Mo is also enough to beat this true ancestor princess. Although the true ancestor is strong, his ability is too simple. Whether it is a strong physique or the ability to materialize fantasy. The power that is really exerted in battle is somewhat inferior to the power held by Su Mo. Speaking of which, if there is the Kai family, the 4 major demon-killing families of Wujing, Liangyi, and Qianshan should also have it. In other words, you also have the plot of the Karen no Kyukai on your side? Su Mo from the God Slayer world asked curiously. Yes, I have heard of the name of Liangyi's daughter, Liangyi Shiki. Su Mo from the Type Moon world nodded, and then added, by the way, my world is now one. Seeing the surprised look of God Slayer Su Mo, Type Moon Su Mo added, you're right. I'm in Fuyuki City now, preparing to participate in the 4th Holy Grail War. I didn't expect to come here unexpectedly before the official war. He knew that the other party would be surprised to hear this. In other words, the world line you are in has both the 27th ancestor of the Dead Apostles and the Holy Grail War. Su Mo from the Godslayer world was indeed very surprised. Many people believe that the 27th ancestor of the Dead Apostles and the Holy Grail War are not things that appear on the same world line. However, the Type Moon world is famous for its many world lines. If it's just this degree of overlap, although a little surprised but also acceptable. Compared to this, he was more surprised. You actually wanted to participate in the Holy Grail War before you got the Golden Finger. You are very brave. You know, although Su Mo of the Type Moon world has the Seven Knights assassination technique and the mystic eyes of death perception, but his real combat power is not too strong. It's still too hard to face the servants of the Holy Grail War. Chapter 174, I guess it was enough to bully the weakling assassin in the fourth battle. But whether facing Jean Shining, Iskandar, or Dimoludo, no chance of winning. And with the magic power in Su Mo's body in the moon-shaped world, it can't summon any powerful servants either. It can be said that at first glance, they're a weak combination that will be eliminated. With this combination, we participate in the Holy Grail War. Even if you know the information about other servants in advance, it will be difficult to win. After all, strength is the basis of everything. Hearing the words of Su Mo from the God Killer world, Su Mo from Xingyue world spread his hands. Actually, I had no intention of winning. After all, the Holy Grail has been contaminated by the evil in this world, and the function of the wishing machine has basically been cancelled. Although the function of reaching the third method, Cup of Heaven, is still there. But with my previous strength, it would be difficult to obtain the third method from the source vortex. So, from the beginning, I had no intention of participating in the battle. Su Mo in different worlds has different ways of dealing with things because of his different experiences. However, only the word caution is mostly the same. Su Mo, who knew his own strength, would naturally not overestimate his capabilities and get involved in a battle that he could not participate in. Although I planned to join the Holy Grail War, but he never intended to get involved in the fight for the Holy Grail. Then what do you plan to do? Su Mo from the God Killer world asked curiously. Servant, Su Mo from Xingyue world emphasized. In a few years, I will face the 27 ancestors of the Dead Apostles, as well as Tsukihai Marquette. In order to prevent sudden death due to accidents, of course, I will find opportunities to strengthen myself. The reason why I participated in the Holy Grail War was to find a heroic spirit as my teacher. The other participants in the Holy Grail War were completely different. Others want to win the Holy Grail War. As for Su Mo, he just wanted to find a teacher to train his strength. Whether it's a martial arts teacher or a magic teacher, he didn't even mind. After all, he couldn't get any holy relics. It can only be summoned based on phase. It can be said that his ideas are a breath of fresh air among the Holy Grail War Masters. But what he didn't expect was, before the Holy Grail War officially started, I was so lucky that I awakened Golden Finger directly. In an instant, he gained power comparable to that of a god. With his current strength, the plans made before naturally don't count. The only thing worth caring about is, before he awakened Golden Finger, he had already summoned the servants. The strength of the servant is not that strong. But, with Su Mo's current strength, he really didn't need to care about the combat effectiveness of his followers. By himself, it's enough to defeat the Holy Grail War by one person. The power of the followers is essentially dispensable. Not to mention, he quite likes the servants he summoned. I'm not willing to replace him yet. Naturally, I don't feel it's a pity either. Hey, you did a good job. After listening to Su Mo from the God Killer world, I feel that I am extremely creative in the Xingyue world. Summoning a servant is not for the Holy Grail War, but simply for learning. It's just too hard. You should have this in mind when you take the college entrance examination. King Bay is not a dream. But the Holy Grail War? Thinking of this thing, God Killer Su Mo became interested. The third method is a good thing. If you can get it, our normal strength can be increased by at least 10 times. He wasn't talking nonsense, but very seriously. After becoming a god killer, generally speaking, the curse power in the body will not increase. If you continue to kill gods, you will only gain new powers at most. There is no upper limit to the increase in the number of powers. But there is an upper limit to the curse power in the god killer's body. This is why veteran god killers may also be overthrown by novice god killers. Su Mo can increase his magic power by upgrading the world, but this is a special situation. For the god slayer, the amount of spell power not only means battery life, but also affects the power of the power. If the magic power is enough, with power alone, it is completely possible to achieve explosive star level combat power. The biggest boss in the world of God Slayer, the King of the End. The reason why he is so powerful that he is almost invincible is that he can eliminate all the god killers in the past era. It's not because of how powerful and special his power is. In fact, except for the divine sword of salvation, Liao Nuheo, the most powerful thing about the last king is that it can provide him with the covenant magic that is equivalent to the combined spell power of all the god slayers. The god killer's own spell power has already surpassed the earth's veins, and the curse power is several times that of the god killer. It also allows him to exert world-destroying power in order to extract enough magic power. If the magical Holy Grail is not used, the King of the End will cause various geological disasters as long as he appears in the world. Staying there for too long could even destroy civilization itself. The disaster caused by the strongest steel to the earth is much greater than that of ordinary gods of disobedience. Su Mo from the God Killer world also thought about taking the magical Holy Grail. It just hasn't been implemented yet, but it seems now. What kind of magical Holy Grail do you want? If you can obtain the third Dharma, the Cup of Heaven, your soul will become material. Directly obtain a perpetual motion machine with infinite magic power. With this perpetual motion machine, as long as it is properly developed, the magic power in Su Mo's body will never be exhausted. Not only that, the total amount of mantra power in the body will gradually increase. It may even overpower the planet, strengthening the power of power to the explosive level, or even stronger, is not a dream at all. Speaking of which, it's not just Su Mo from the world of god killers. Su Mo from the pirate world and Su Mo from the Xingyue world were also moved. 150 for the third method is to kill the gods. The convenience of the god slayer's power needs no elaboration. Gods are the strongest ones who can manipulate times and concepts. Even the sumo people who have such powerful power as Ultraman Tiga usually use the power of gods more often. If it can strengthen the power of the gods, this opportunity was naturally not to be missed. Not to mention, the third method, Cup of Heaven, symbolizes more than just that. Represents the third method of materialization of the soul. Both the power of immortality and the perpetual motion machine are just byproducts. Its true power is still unknown. But one thing is for sure. It is definitely something more powerful than infinite magic. In Su Mo's view, the third method is definitely a power more important than the power of gods. The Holy Grail War has already set the stage for reaching the third method. It is itself a ritual that can reach the outside of the world and allow people to obtain the third method. Even if the Holy Grail itself is tainted by the evil of this world, all that can be affected is the wish of the little Holy Grail. That's just attack. Chapter 175, a true ritual that can reach the outside of the world. It has no impact at all, regardless of whether there is any evil pollution in this world. As long as the magic itself remains, it can hold the piercing holes in the world. You can use this to obtain the third method. If God does not take it, you will suffer the consequences. After thinking about it for a while, Su Mo from the moon-shaped world made a decision. Okay, give me a fucking vote. With his current strength, it is not difficult to win the Holy Grail War. Compared with the possible gains, the risks are not great, and it is worth trying. Just as he was resolute and ready to leave, God Killer 293 Su Mo held him back. Wait, don't rush yet. He suddenly remembered the evil in this world contained in the Holy Grail. The evil in this world is tainted by Angora Mainyu. Angola Mainyu is the evil god in Zoroastrianism who is opposed to the good god Ahura. In itself, it is the embodiment of the dualism of good and evil in the Zoroastrian cosmology. Certainly, in the Holy Grail, the absorbing Golan Manu is naturally not the evil god himself. Otherwise, it would be more than just a Holy Grail that would be contaminated. Angola Manu in the Holy Grail is just an innocent sacrifice chosen to symbolize the existence of the evil god. However, even if it is a sacrifice, after being given the name of the evil god and killed, it is inseparable from the evil god himself. Its very existence is equivalent to the crystallization of some kind of collective desire. This crystallization was accepted as a wish by the Great Holy Grail. Thus, you truly have the collection of all the evil in the world. And it succeeded, contaminating the originally colorless Great Holy Grail. If you want to deal with this guy and successfully get the opportunity to make a wish, I should have a way. Su Mo from the God-Killer world thought for a moment, and then said, "It is not impossible to directly abandon the desire itself and obtain the third method. But if you have the chance to choose, why not take them all? The evil in this world. For humans and ordinary heroic spirits, it may be an unbearable poison. However, for gods, it is just average." Gilgamesh could bear the weight of the black mud without changing his expression. Tiamat's black mud is countless times stronger than Fuyuki cities. With Su Mo's current mental strength, the black mud of evil in this world has no way of disturbing him. However, if you want to remove black mud, you need some targeted power. As far as he knew, there happened to be such a god on his side. The time you stay inside the foggy space has nothing to do with the time in your world over there. In other words, no matter how long you stay here, it will only last for a moment. This was explained to the two of them. Su Mo from the God-Killer world said, "You guys wait for me here. I'll buy 2 oranges. I'm going to kill a god, and I'll come back as soon as I go." Here his words. Su Mo from the Moon world and Su Mo from the Pirate world probably guessed what he was going to do. "Just go and take advantage of us. Hurry up, wait for you." The two said goodbye to God-Killer Su Mo speechlessly. The two of them were not in a hurry to begin with. After knowing that no matter how long he stayed here, his world would only last for a moment, he no longer worried. After God-Killer Su Mo left, the two began to get familiar with the newly acquired abilities in their bodies. I don't know how much time passed. The two people, who were initially familiar with the power within their bodies, raised their heads together and looked in the direction of the white mist. Someone else is coming. This time, the two will not make the same mistakes as before. I don't think that the new ones are new people. Not much to say. The two walked into Su Mo, who had just arrived. "I'm from the world of One Piece. I come from the world of Xingyue." He blew himself up directly to his house. Then, before Su Mo in the Forbidden World came back to his senses, then they slapped him on the shoulder. Su Mo in the Forbidden World was stunned. "Are you really new? Why do you think you are more skilled than me? How many times have you patted others on the shoulder? Beat Ja by to death." Naturally, the two people here would not tell him because they had been embarrassed once. So, to prevent this, the two discussed how to deal with it for a long time. Now it seems that the effect is good. "I just met Su Mo from the world of God-Killers." The topic was ignored vaguely, and the two of them began to communicate with each other about the world in which they lived. Not to mention communication within the foggy space. The world of Godslayer. Su Mo, who came back from the foggy space, finally found something to do. "Erica, let's put aside the matters regarding the King of Swords for now." Su Mo suddenly ordered Erica, who was processing documents next to her. "I'm going to go out and make arrangements as soon as possible." Erica was a little surprised by the sudden order. "Just now, I was preparing to wait for the arrival of the King of Swords." "Why have you changed your mind now? Could it be that the Lord's patience has been worn out by the King of Swords?" Although a little confused, however, as a knight, he would naturally not question his master's orders. "My lord, where are you going?" "There are planes and ships on standby at the nearby ports at any time," Erica asked very ably, although Su Mo had no plans to travel before. But as a qualified knight, it is natural to take unexpected situations into consideration. Not to mention, if you can spend a little money to make the God-Killer feel better, that is what the Magic Society dreams of. Ever since it was confirmed that Su Mo had become the God-Killer. On Sardinia, there are planes, cars, and ships on standby at any time, just to deal with the sudden travel request from the God-Killer. Now, Erica's meticulous arrangements have finally come in handy. Hear her answer. Su Mo was also a little surprised, looked at her appreciatively, and then said, "Our target is Naples, Italy." Clear. Erica immediately nodded happily. When your small work is appreciated by your master, you will be very happy. Then, she immediately conveyed her request to the airport staff on the phone. After all aspects have been coordinated, Erica remembered something and asked Su Mo, "My lord, if the King of Swords arrives while you are away, what should you do?" She didn't know how long Su Mo would be ready to travel. It is also uncertain when the King of Swords will arrive. What if the King of Swords arrives in Sardinia and Su Mo leaves again? If you are a normal person, just communicate and make an appointment. But Erica was worried that the King of Swords was not in his right mind. If by that time, the King of Swords discovers that Su Mo is not here. After asking Su Mo's direction, he plunged into the Mediterranean Sea again. Then head to Naples by hiking under the sea. The time it takes is gone. Chapter 176. Erica still remembered what Su Mo said. If the Sword King didn't arrive within 2 days, throw him into the center of the earth. If this really happened, maybe one of the God Slayers would die. She wasn't worried about Su Mo's safety. After all, no God Slayer could hang up and beat the god of disobedience. But it's better not to have the bad reputation of killing his own kind. Sword King Tony. Su Mo didn't know that Erica was so meticulous. When he mentioned this era, he immediately shook his head. When he comes, let him wait for me here. I won't be there for long anyway. It's just a pillar of God. It won't take much time to solve it. But the Sword King shouldn't be obedient, Erica said in a tactful way. That makes sense. Su Mo didn't want to watch this era running around. After thinking about it, he walked out the door. This is a sea view villa, and the blue ocean is not far from the door. If the Sword King comes, let the people who stay here tell him. If he can wait for me quietly, I can consider competing with him in swordsmanship. Hearing Su Mo's words, Erica was very surprised. You want to compete with the Sword King in swordsmanship? Even Erica had to admit that although the Sword King Tony was a mess in other aspects, he was simply a waste. But only in swordsmanship, he was an absolute genius. He was an object that young geniuses like her and Liliana had to look up to. Even the martial arts king Luo Hao in the East. He had praised the swordsmanship of the Sword King. Even among all the God Slayers, the martial arts of the Sword King Tony ranked at the top. Erica knew that Su Mo was very strong, but she had never seen him use swordsmanship. Unexpectedly, her master was so confident in this aspect. She did not doubt Su Mo's strength, but she was indeed surprised. If the master knows everything, then wouldn't she, the knight, be just a decoration? 155 Cutting the sword mark of the sea, Naples, yeah. Su Mo nodded. Originally, he was only proficient in swordsmanship. That was the swordsmanship that Su Mo of the fairy tale world learned from Urza. It was impossible to fight a swordsmanship battle with a swordsmanship genius like the Sword King. So, at first he only planned to fly a kite or use the affinity of power to defeat the opponent. He did not plan to compete in swordsmanship. However, after meeting 2 newcomers, there was no need to be so troublesome. Su Mo of the pirate world is not a devil fruit ability user. He is a pure master of domineering, a master of physical skills, and a great swordsman. After sharing the power of Su Mo of the pirate world, his swordsmanship directly reached the master level. Now, he is enough to move mountains and fill the sea with just pure swordsmanship. In terms of skills alone, whether it is the martial arts of the martial arts king Luo Hao or the swordsmanship of the sword king Dong and I, it is difficult to do this without using power. Therefore, in terms of swordsmanship, Su Mo is still better than the two. Naturally, he will not be afraid of a swordsmanship competition. But you are right, that guy may not be obedient. Su Mo does not think that the Sword King Dong and I is a well-behaved character. It is almost impossible for him to wait for him here obediently with just one sentence. Just talking about a swordsmanship competition is not enough as bait. After thinking about it, he stretched out his hand to Erica. "Give me your sword." "Yes." Erica was a little confused, but still handed her beloved sword Reinhardt to Su Mo. Su Mo grabbed the hilt of the sword. The armed color domineering directly dyed the red long sword with his own color. Looking at the empty ocean at the door of the villa in front of him. Under Erica's puzzled eyes, Su Mo raised his sword high and chopped it down suddenly. The crescent-shaped sword energy shot out immediately. At first, it was just a slightly curved shape, and the length was only a few meters. However, as the sword energy continued to move away, the length of the sword energy like a thread also increased. When it reached the sea surface, the sword energy was able to span thousands of meters. Boom! The sea was split open in an instant, exposing the seabed underneath. Things like corals and starfish were all exposed to the air. It was like the miracle of Moses splitting the sea. A huge crack was directly cut in the sea area in front of Su Mo. It spread for dozens of kilometers. It created a wonder like a canyon on the sea. A sword split the sea. Such a wonder appeared in front of Erica and Liliana. The two young knights were silent and surprised to the point of being speechless. If Su Mo could achieve this with his power, neither of them would be so surprised. After all, it is common sense that the power of the God Slayer has the ability to change the world. However, there was no fluctuation of the cursed power on Su Mo just now. He did something that only this kind of power can do simply by relying on his physical fitness and the long sword in his hand. This is beyond the common sense of the two knights. After a long time, the two recovered from the shock. Is this really something that humans can do? Liliana looked at the sea canyon in front of her that had not dissipated at all and couldn't help but exclaimed, "How can humans reach this level without using power? As expected of your lord." In comparison, Erica is much calmer. Su Mo had seen the form of the giant of light. She knew very well how strong her master was. Even if one day Su Mo said that looking at the moon was too annoying and wanted to take it off, Erica probably wouldn't be too surprised. Therefore, the current level of swordsmanship is beyond common sense. But if it were Lord Su Mo, it would be normal for him to do it. The sword that cuts through the sea. Because the sword energy remains, this sea canyon will not close for the time being. It will keep for at least a few weeks. Although it is not impossible to make it longer, it is not necessary. At this level, it is in line with Su Mo's needs. Hand Erica's sword back to her. Only then did Su Mo speak. If the King of Swords arrives, let him take a look at this sword mark. After seeing this thing, given that guy's nature, he should be able to calm down for a while. The King of Swords is a warrior obsessed with swordsmanship. Seeing this sword mark, you will naturally understand Su Mo's swordsmanship level. Naturally, I will also seriously consider Su Mo's words. Besides, with his character who is obsessed with swords, he would rather go across the ocean to find himself. I guess I would rather observe the sword intent here. It's not that hard to keep this fool here with a two-pronged approach. Yes, Erica nodded. Only then did he understand Su Mo's plan. At the same time, I also understood more deeply how unreasonable and strong my master was. Just to keep the King of Swords, he made such a shocking sword strike? Chapter 177. Doesn't this mean my lord has more power that has not yet been revealed? Is it just because it's not necessary that it's not shown? The thigh I was holding seemed thicker than I thought. With this in mind, she completed Su Mo's order without any delay. Soon, staff from the local magic association were found. After taking them to the beginning of the sword mark that separated the sea, Erica conveyed Su Mo's instructions under the stunned eyes of everyone. Seeing such power, the local magic society naturally cooperated fully, saying that they would definitely complete the mission of the God Killer. If the King of Swords comes, they will definitely notify him. After all aspects are arranged properly, Su Mo, Erica, and Liliana boarded the prepared special plane together, flying to the city designated by Su Mo, Naples. Naples, also known as Naples, is a very famous tourist city in Italy. Mount Vesuvius, which destroyed the prosperous ancient city of Pompeii, is located southeast of Naples. It is still an active volcano. According to rumors, the beauty and elegance of this ancient capital has even led to the saying that if you have seen Naples, you are willing to die. However, as a native of Italy, Erica's introduction was very real. If you look at it from a distance, it's really a beautiful city. But when you go in, you will find that there is rubbish everywhere, graffiti on the walls and floors, traffic jams on the road, many thieves and robbers, random people, and a messy place. Even if you say flattering things, it can't be considered a suitable place to live. Erica's expression was one of disgust. She is a girl who likes refinement and elegance. So I can't stand this kind of an inelegant place, even my own country. After hearing her words, Liliana had some cold sweat on her forehead. Erica, even if what you say is right, don't say it in front of the residents of the city, right? She noticed. After Erica made her comment, she seemed to be glared at by the locals. It seems that not everyone can watch their hometown being slandered calmly. Hear Liliana say this. Su Mo couldn't help but complain. You yourself are the same. Liliana, didn't you notice that others were staring at you? Erica's comments were certainly impolite. Liliana's words, even if you are right, can also easily anger others. Fortunately, because both of them are beautiful girls, their aura is extraordinary. That's why no one came to find fault. After Su Mo said this, only then did Liliana notice something was wrong with her. Apologize immediately and sheepishly. Sorry, King. I was negligent. It doesn't matter. Su Mo shook his head and didn't care. I care more about the purpose of our trip than what the local residents think. I hope you don't disappoint me. The three of them arrived at their destination, Naples, within a few hours. However, their trip was not for tourism, compared to such insignificant trivial matters as the sentiments of local people. What he cares more about is his destination. Destination? Speaking of which, why would the Lord want to go to such a place? Erica looked curious. Naples was originally a colonial city of the ancient Greeks. The ruins of quarries where enslaved people worked at that time, the remains of water supply and sewers and water storage tanks built by later Romans, and even the ruins of underground warehouses for storing grain and alcohol left in the Middle Ages. Those buildings still exist near the old city street as underground relics. And Su Mo's destination. It was Naples Sidronia, the place known as Underground Naples. To put it simply, it is the underground relics left by the slaves back then. Although there are ancient magic materials preserved in these underground ruins, but it shouldn't have much appeal to the God Slayer. You guess. Regarding Erica's question, Su Mo just gave it a try. Liliana on the side noticed something. Speaking of which, those who can attract God killers are either gods of disobedience or divine beasts or something. Thinking of this, her face turned pale. Could it be that the god of disobedience will come here? Hiss. Hearing this guess, Erica also took a breath. It can make the master give up waiting for the king of swords. You also have to run over in advance. What else can there be but the god of disobedience? Is it possible that in this huge tourist city, there will be a battle between the god of disobedience and the god killer? After thinking of this, both of them looked at Su Mo with panic and pleading eyes. Please don't tell us this is true. If this place is destroyed, the loss will be more than tens of billions. However, facing the panicked eyes of the two knights, Su Mo just smiled appreciatively. Yes, it seems you are still very smart. The two knights heard this compliment. My heart suddenly sank. It's over. This city is doomed. Talent. 156 Pillar of Hera. Summoning the god of disobedience, no one understands the destructive power of the god killer better than those of them who have studied magic since childhood. Even though Naples is the largest city in southern Italy, in front of the god killer, it really wasn't enough. Not to mention, next to this city, there is the active volcano Vesuvius. If the aftermath of the battle accidentally affects this active volcano and causes it to erupt, maybe Naples will become the second Pompeii, directly destroyed by the volcano. If something like that happened, the damage to both human life and property would be immeasurable. In this dangerous situation, Erica and Liliana were naturally very panicked. However, there is no use panicking. They also knew that they could not stop the battle between the god of disobedience and the god slayer. And so far, they still don't know Su Mo's true plan. Soon, they arrived at their destination. Underground ruins, underground Naples. After getting off the car, Liliana, who was familiar with this place and had prepared a strategy in advance, led Su Mo to the ruins as a tour guide. Erica, on the other hand, coordinated the local magic association according to Su Mo's instructions. By the way, make preparations for evacuation measures. If a disobedient god really appears, they can evacuate the people on their side 293. After Erica left, Liliana braced herself. It was her turn now. Before, she saw Su Mo express his appreciation for Erica's work. In other words, when it comes to daily chores, Erica is already one step ahead of her. To defeat Erica, obtain Erica's one-time command power from Su Mo. Next, she has to show her own advantages. Otherwise, if he is surpassed by Erica, wouldn't he be bullied to death by her? Most of underground Naples has been developed as a tourist attraction. However, what is being developed are ordinary ruins. The ruins that truly retain the secrets of magic are hidden by the witches of Naples. Chapter 178 introducing like this. Liliana, who is also a witch, did not take Su Mo to those developed tourist attractions. Instead, she took him to a shop. This is an ordinary-looking second-hand clothing store, opened by a local. The owner is a young woman in her 20s or 30s. Su Mo did not know the other party, but he sensed the weak magic power in the owner of the shop. She is definitely from the magic world. Moreover, it should be the Naples witch mentioned by Liliana. This witch seemed to know Su Mo's identity. After Su Mo entered the store, she immediately retreated to the side respectfully. After Liliana greeted her, then she took Su Mo deep into the second-hand clothing store. Deep inside the store, there's a place that you can never see if you are not a witch. That is an entrance to the underground. Needless to say, this is the real ruins guarded by the witches of Naples. Su Mo and Liliana took a step forward, entered the underground passage. This is a long and narrow corridor, like a mausoleum. There are murals on both sides of the road. Many snake-like creatures are painted on the wall. There are cobras with long bodies coiled up, hydras with multiple heads, and snakes with wings like breams. There are all kinds of snakes carved on the wall. Anyone with a little magic training will understand that these are all symbols of the Earth Mother. This used to be the location of the underground secret temple. Liliana continued to introduce. Since Christianity became the state religion, the witches who used to have divine power have been regarded as witches and hunted. So they fled underground and built these underground temples for the purpose of conveying information in order to protect their own myths. Earth Mother snakes. Su Mo looked at the murals in front of him and nodded slightly. Is the Queen of Gods Hera enshrined here? Yes. Liliana nodded. Most people know Hera as the wife of the king of god Zeus in Greek mythology. However, in fact, this goddess was originally the Earth Mother goddess of the Peloponnese Peninsula. After being defeated and conquered by the Indo-European horse-riding people who worshipped the sky god, the prototype of Zeus, Hera was forced to become a goddess subordinate to Zeus. Interesting. Hearing Liliana's detailed explanation, Su Mo smiled interestingly. The myths of the God-Slayer world are different from those of other worlds. They pay more attention to the changes in the myths themselves due to history. Therefore, not only different gods may be the same god in disguise. The relationship between gods is also intriguing. It is definitely not as simple as described in the myths themselves. Skip these murals. Soon, they arrived at the main hall of the underground ruins. In the center of the main hall, a dark stone pillar stood in the center. The obsidian-like stone pillar exudes the fluctuation of spell power. Hera Pillar. Su Mo found the target of his trip. This is one of the divine tools in the original book that can easily attract the gods who disobey. Lily, lend me the sword. Su Mo shouted to the silver-haired knight beside him. The tone was unusually gentle, and the address was also very intimate. He called her so gently. Liliana was a little dazed immediately and handed over the long sword Silver Master in her hand. After the Silver Master was out of her hand, she suddenly woke up. Oops, I fell into the king's beauty trap. The silver-haired knight stared blankly at Su Mo, who was holding a long sword and eager to try. A terrible guess came to her mind. King, what are you going to do with the sword? Liliana looked at Su Mo with an expression that was about to cry. her eyes full of pleading. She had an answer in her heart that she absolutely didn't want to hear. Facing this expression of this cute girl, I guess no man can refuse it. However, it's a pity. Su Mo is such a windy man. Women will only affect the speed of his sword drawing. So, the new king, who has always been very gentle and not willful at all, he showed a very pure smile to Liliana. "Don't panic, I just plan to cut this thing off. Don't worry, I won't damage your sword." Hearing this, Liliana was completely numb. "I'm not worried about the sword. So, why do you want to cut off this divine tool?" However, Su Mo didn't wait for Liliana to speak to stop him. A rainbow light flashed in his pupils. The power of the death eye was activated. There were a few dead lines on the Hera pillar in front of him. Should it be said that it is worthy of being a divine tool? The quality is good. There are only a few dead points. After confirming the position of the dead line, Su Mo directly used the Silver Master and cut it with a sword. Voila! The dark stone pillar was cut into 17 pieces like a piece of paper cut by scissors. The remains of the stone pillar were scattered directly on the ground, piled up into a pile of ordinary stones. And then, the cursed power accumulated in the Hera pillar burst out instantly. The cursed power gushed out like a fountain. It was like substance. The entire underground palace began to shake, as if an earthquake had occurred. Or rather, a small-scale earthquake had indeed occurred here. After the earthquake, the ruins became crooked. Fortunately, it did not collapse completely. On the top of the Hera pillar, you can see the clear sky when you look up. This is a huge hole that was directly blasted out by the curse. Gaia! The roar of the monster resounded throughout the sky. After hearing this sound, Liliana's expression changed. This is the voice of a dragon, the world of the God Slayer. The manifestation of the young attribute of earth veins, or spirit veins, is the appearance of a dragon. Therefore, there are basically legends of dragons all over the world. Sometimes it can control wind and rain. Sometimes it can awaken magma. Sometimes it can spit out poisonous fog. Depending on the region, the appearance and power of the dragons born will be different. The only thing in common is, these dragons themselves are all mythical beasts. And they are top-level mythical beasts. But is the king's target this dragon? Liliana asked with some doubt. For you, even if you defeat a beast of this level, you can't gain power, right? Yes, for ordinary people, dragons are naturally terrifying beasts. Even for them, magicians and knights. Dragons are also the top existence among the beasts. Even a paladin may not be able to defeat a dragon, not to mention killing it. Because of this, slaying a dragon is a record that only legendary heroes can have. However, that is for ordinary people. Chapter 179 in front of the god of disobedience and the god slayer. Even a dragon is just a mere beast in front of a serious god slayer. This level of opponent can't last for a few minutes. Moreover, even if you defeat it, you won't gain anything. So, for ordinary god slayers, the dragon is not very attractive. At most, it's a toy to kill time. She didn't understand why Su Mo came here and summoned this dragon. Hearing Liliana's question, Su Mo smiled and shook his head. My goal is naturally not just a beast. Dragons are not important, but the existence of dragons is important. Since there are dragons and snakes, how can there be no heroes who kill them? He asked leisurely. Dragons and snakes are the embodiment of the Earth's spiritual veins. In the God Slayer's worldview, dragons and snakes themselves will be conquered by heroes who symbolize steel. The hero god of steel defeated the mother goddess of Earth. This is the main theme of the myth. It is also the transition from matriarchal clan to patriarchal clan, and this history is manifested in mythology. The reason why he released the dragon was not because he had nothing to do and wanted to kill a dragon for fun. It was to summon the god of disobedience, the hero who killed the dragon snake. Hearing Su Mo's words, Liliana finally understood his plan. Oh no! Her heart sank immediately. 157 The dragon and the disobedient Perseus. It has been mentioned before. The dragon snake is the manifestation of the Earth's spiritual veins. The dragon, the mythical beast born because Su Mo cut off the Hera pillar. It is the mythical beast condensed by the essence of the Naples earth veins. It itself is equivalent to the dragon veins of this city. If this dragon is defeated by someone, the spiritual veins near the entire Naples may dry up. If the earth veins dry up, the land will lose its vitality. Neither animals nor trees can continue to survive. This place will become a barren land. It can be said that for both the magic society guarding this place and the ordinary people here, if the dragon is really killed, they will suffer great losses. Therefore, Liliana was completely panicked. At this time, although the earthquake stopped, the underground ruins were still shaking and could collapse at any time. Su Mo held Liliana's waist with one hand and jumped. He jumped directly out of the hole above his head. The storm wings behind him whistled and formed, allowing him to fly in the air. King, this was the first time that a man had such close contact. Liliana was a little shy. However, Su Mo did this to save her from the ruins that could collapse at any time. So she didn't say anything. Compared to this, more importantly, not far in front of them, there was an emerald green dragon soaring in the sky. The huge dragon had a very long neck, and its head looked a bit like a snake. The overall image was very similar to the Western dragon with wings, but there were slight differences in details. When they noticed the dragon also noticed them, looking at Su Mo and Liliana flying in the sky. The emerald dragon hesitated for a moment. It seemed to know that Su Mo had just cut off the Hera pillar and was a strong man who was not easy to provoke. However, Su Mo now had no killing intent or hostility. He did not look like an enemy. Not to mention, he still had Liliana in his arms. The emerald dragon hesitated for a moment, but still flapped its wings and flew over here. What is this? Seeing the emerald dragon flying in front of her, still looking at her very closely, Liliana blinked, a little confused. Did it regard me as a companion? She couldn't help guessing. After all, it was a dragon born from the pillar of the Earth Mother. It was normal to regard the witch guarding the pillar as a companion. Just try it, and you will know. Looking at the emerald dragon in front of him, Su Mo said, bringing Liliana closer to the other party. The emerald dragon looked at him with some vigilance, but did not move. Tap! Liliana landed lightly on the back of the emerald dragon under Su Mo's encouragement. The emerald dragon did not react to this and seemed to welcome it. It seemed that it really regarded her as a partner. Even for Liliana, a great night, riding on a dragon was an experience she had never had before. After all, she was only a 16-year-old girl. She looked around happily and immediately looked at Su Mo. It seemed that she wanted to become a dragon knight with Su Mo. However, when Su Mo wanted to step on the dragon's back, the emerald dragon flapped its wings lightly and dodged directly. The newly born emerald dragon was very close to Liliana, the witch. But for Su Mo, the guy who cut off the stone pillar, the emerald dragon was very wary. Cross the river and destroy the bridge? Su Mo looked at the emerald dragon's posture and complained speechlessly. Not to mention that Liliana was carried over by herself. It was the knife handed over by this child that cut off the stone pillar at the beginning. You think of her as a companion. Are you crazy? Maybe it's because it's afraid of the king, Liliana guessed with a bit of a laugh. Next, she comforted the emerald dragon. It seems that she wants the emerald dragon to accept Su Mo. Unfortunately, no matter how she persuades, the emerald dragon shakes its head vigorously. It seems that it is very afraid of Su Mo, who cut off the Hera pillar with one knife. Seeing this, Su Mo stopped him. No need to force it. You just need to move freely. Although he is also interested in riding a dragon, the god of disobedience is more important than this. Since this emerald dragon does not want to be stepped on by him, then he can let it be the bait without any burden in his heart. Hearing Su Mo say this, Liliana understood what he meant. She panicked immediately. She looked at the emerald dragon under her feet with regret. Do you know what you are refusing? You are refusing the protection of the big boss. Unfortunately, the emerald dragon has just been born and has only the wisdom of a few-year-old child. He can't understand Liliana's complicated emotions. After seeing that Su Mo did not try to ride him again, the emerald dragon flapped its wings. It flew far away with the wind, as if it was having fun. It left Su Mo's figure behind. It flew for more than a minute. The emerald dragon wandered around the city leisurely. When it flew to the east of Naples, a flash of lightning flashed across the sky. Boom! Chapter 180. Immediately, thunder was heard. Liliana looked in the direction of the thunder and immediately looked east. That is, above the crater of Mount Vesuvius. The flashing lightning gradually turned into a human shape. The golden hair that can be reminiscent of the sun, and the white clothes and cloak on the body are definitely not the clothes of modern people. The first moment she saw this figure, Liliana confirmed his identity. The god of disobedience. She immediately became nervous, and her right hand could not help but grasp the hilt of her beloved sword, the Silver Master. Then she touched nothing. Oh, it's over. She just remembered that her Silver Master was still in Su Mo's hands and had not been returned to her. In other words, she had to deal with a god of disobedience without a weapon? It would be better to commit suicide. After thinking about it, Liliana mustered up the courage to look at the unknown god. "Excuse me, where are you from? Can you teach me your name?" She asked directly without receiving the spiritual vision for the time being. Although Su Mo is not here, but he will come sooner or later. If I can know the name of this god of disobedience in advance, I will tell the king at that time. Maybe it can help Su Mo defeat the god of disobedience faster. As for whether the other party will tell me, to be honest, Liliana has no idea. However, the god of disobedience has always been arrogant. Even if he does not report his name, it is possible to reveal clues about his real name. Just as Liliana was thinking about this, on the crater, the god of disobedience, floating in the air, showed a very bright smile. "I am worried about how to formally report my name. It is much more convenient for you to ask this. My name is Perseus. Remember it firmly. Perseus, as the hero who defeated the snake-haired monster Medusa in Greek mythology. His name and godhood are both widely spread. Defeat dragons and snakes, and then be worshipped. This is the typical symbol of the steel hero god." After reporting his name, Perseus turned his eyes away from Liliana. He looked at the emerald dragon in front of him. The eyes of the god of disobedience were immediately filled with fighting spirit. Gaia! At this time, the emerald dragon under Liliana's feet also roared like a threat. That was an encounter with an irreconcilable enemy. Be prepared for the inevitable struggle, and roared dangerously. Ha! Killing dragons and snakes is the karma of being a hero. Just right, there are cheers from the onlookers now. Everything is ready. Facing the emerald dragon, Perseus smiled generously. In his hand, a sword with a blade as long as 1 meter appeared. Wait! Seeing his action, Liliana tried to stop him. This dragon is the incarnation of Naples' spirit. If it is defeated, the spiritual energy of the entire land will be cut off. For the people here, please put down your sword. Since he is a hero god, he should at least consider the people's thoughts, right? He laughed at her naive questioning. Perseus shook his head. To accomplish the heroic cause, such a price is also helpless 293. Liliana wanted to say something else, but Perseus showed a ferocious look. "You don't want to be my enemy, do you?" The madness of the god of disobedience made Liliana speechless for a moment. Perseus no longer paid attention to Liliana. Facing the roaring emerald dragon in front of him, he stepped forward like a meteor. The long knife chopped down fiercely, like a hot knife cutting butter, cut off the wings of the emerald dragon. Then, in less than 1/10 of a second, when people could not react in time, the long knife cut the neck of the emerald dragon fiercely. Although it was limited by the length of the blade, it was not able to cut off the entire head of the emerald dragon. But now the injury is so deep that the bone can be seen. The cervical vertebrae of the emerald dragon can be seen from the cross-section. Seeing this scene, Liliana was completely speechless. For magicians and knights, it was a top-level beast that was almost completely invincible. In just 3 seconds, it was severely injured and dying by the god of disobedience in front of it. Even for the god slayer, such a speed of punishment was too abnormal. The god of disobedience in front of it was definitely extraordinary. Moreover, if nothing was done, the emerald dragon would really die. Just when Liliana was most panicked and at a loss, a voice that made her feel at ease sounded. It was Su Mo's voice. "As a god of disobedience, You bully animals and girls as soon as you come. Can you be called a hero like this? Su Mo, who appeared at some point, blocked the fatal blow of Perseus of disobedience. He chatted with the god of disobedience in front of him with a calm expression. King. Only then did Liliana feel a strong sense of relief. She finally understood why the world called the god slayer the king. Because, in front of the disaster called the god of disobedience, the god slayer is the only one who can resist them. Recalling the surprise of the address between Erica and me, the silver-haired knight also began to consider swearing allegiance. I just don't know if the king is willing to accept me. 158 The sun god from the east. The god-killing war the fatal blow was blocked by Su Mo. Perseus, who refused to obey, showed a somewhat surprised expression. It seems that he is not an ordinary person to be able to block my beautiful blow. He narrowed his eyes and remembered something. It seems that you are the god-killer of this era, right? Yes. Su Mo nodded. I came here just to take your head. It's great that you can be attracted down. Unlike other gods, the method of summoning Perseus to the earth is mentioned in the original book. This hero god, who is famous for killing dragons and snakes, needs to be attracted down by dragons and snakes. And it just so happens that this underground ruins in Naples can summon a giant dragon. The reason why Su Mo came here is to use the dragon to attract Perseus, the dragon slayer. Now it seems that the effect is good. Is the opening speech to take my head? Perseus was not angry when he heard this. Rather, on the contrary, he had an excited smile on his face. That was the expression of a warrior. I don't hate a straightforward opponent like you. But before that, can you let me chop off that dragon first? As a hero, I don't like to give up halfway. Perseus stared at the emerald dragon beside. Su Mo. Challenging evil dragons has always been the fate of heroes. Perseus was the disobedient god who was attracted by this. Although after seeing Su Mo, he found an opponent who could be evenly matched. But if possible, he still wanted to completely end the life of the previous dragon. Hearing his words, Su Mo looked sideways. The dying and seriously injured emerald dragon looked pitiful, and its two wings were so broken that only the skeleton and the barely glued skin were left. Chapter 181. According to normal biology, it would not be able to fly in this state. But dragons are not such creatures. Although it is accustomed to flapping its wings, as a creature made of condensed earth veins, it does not actually have to abide by the laws of physics. Even without wings, dragons can fly. However, judging from the appearance of the emerald dragon, it deliberately maintained a flying posture, probably for the sake of Liliana on its back. After all, the witch is its companion. Although Liliana can actually fly herself, the emerald dragon itself doesn't know. Judging from Liliana's appearance, she didn't seem to notice the emerald dragon's thoughts. However, after Su Mo arrived and stopped the god of disobedience, Liliana immediately commanded the emerald dragon and hid behind Su Mo. Witnessed Su Mo saving him from the hands of the god of steel. The emerald dragon finally understood that Su Mo didn't want to hurt him. After making a cry of grievance, he immediately hid behind Su Mo obediently. Looking at it like this, I guess it won't refuse it anymore, but will welcome Su Mo to ride on it. It's a pity that Su Mo has no such plan now. Sorry, I refuse, he said to Perseus. Then, he looked at Liliana behind him and ordered, Lily, take this guy and retreat. Although the Dragon Knight sounds good, it is not necessarily an advantage in a battle with the god of disobedience. The strength of this giant dragon is not very good to begin with. Not to mention, the opponent is still a hero who can restrain the dragon and snake. Riding a dragon in front of such a god is basically just a matter of one blow from the opponent. Understood. The silver-haired knight Ji knew that the two sides were weak in combat power, so she naturally would not overestimate her capabilities and want to help. It won't be a weakness at this time. After driving the emerald dragon to fly away, Liliana turned around and said loudly to Su Mo. King, the god of disobedience just announced his identity. The enemy's name is Perseus. Even if you can't help in combat, you can also help outside of combat. Liliana felt that this information needed to be conveyed to Su Mo. I see. Su Mo waved his hand. The howling wind quickly sent the emerald dragon and Liliana away. In front of him, Perseus, the god of disobedience, had no intention of stopping the Emerald Dragon. He also knew that he had no ability to stop it. The god killer in front of him has firmly locked onto him. If he chased the Emerald Dragon, he would most likely be fatally struck by the god killer in front of him. This deal is not worth it. Who is he? Be a hero, a warrior who burns with fire and holds iron in his hand to conquer the earth. Dragons and snakes are certainly his enemies, and the Demon King is no exception. The Su Mo in front of him was his enemy in terms of his identity and his purpose. Only, looking at your expression, you don't seem surprised? Perseus raised his eyebrows and looked at Su Mo with some surprise. Liliana did the right thing. To the people and witches, he did not hesitate to tell his name. But if you were facing the Demon King, he might not be so candid given his bad taste. Perseus is a very cunning hero in mythology. I originally thought that the witch would just retreat, but she didn't expect that she would reveal her real name before leaving. What surprised him even more was that the god killer in front of him didn't seem surprised. Perseus, maybe your current identity is this god, Su Mo said meaningfully. But compared to this, your other identity is quite related to the gods I killed before. Hero from the East? Or in other words, sun god from the East. As soon as these words came out, Perseus's expression suddenly changed, become solemn and serious. Doesn't the sun always rise in the east and set in the west, coming from the east? If you think so, you are too naive. Simply speaking, based on where the two of them are now, Rome. To the east of ancient Rome, a very competitive country naturally reminded people of Persia. And when it comes to Persia, let this old friend say hello to you, Su Mo said, raising his hand and exploding the spell. Activate the power, war god of the east, to summon the wild boar incarnation. Roar! The blue-black divine beast wild boar appeared, and with a stronger pressure than the emerald dragon before, it rushed towards the disobedient god in front of him. It is worth mentioning that although both of them are in the air, the boar avatar itself cannot fly, but with its own explosive power and ejection power. The boar incarnation, after being summoned, still like a missile, it suddenly hit Perseus. As a mythical beast with enough impact force to be ejected directly from the earth to the moon, this level is indeed not a problem for it. And faced with the ferocious, emasculated wild boar incarnation in front of him, Perseus just smiled helplessly. With your identity revealed so quickly, are you really a god slayer, rather than a god with wisdom and authority? The origin of the sun god from the east is quite complicated, but in Rome, if you want to trace its roots, except for the sun god Helios in Greek mythology, the most important thing is indeed the sun god from Persia. After all, the name Perseus means a person from Persia, and mentions the Persian sun god. Of course, there is only the one from Zoroastrianism. That is, the Zoroastrian military god that Su Mo had killed before, the master served by Velislana. Mitra, the god of light and contract. It is also the true form of the disobedient god in front of him. The moment he saw the wild boar incarnation, he understood. The god killer opposite was not testing him, but really understood his identity. The wild boar incarnation that guards the contract, and the white horse incarnation that guards the light. These are the powers he bestowed on the guardian god Velislana when he was the sun god Mitra. After realizing this, Perseus did not pretend. He showed his cards. He was Mitra. Disappear! Perseus shook his head gently. Behind him, the light of the sun appeared. The light was just a flash. In front of him, the figure of the terrifying beast wild boar disappeared instantly. Light is powerless in front of stronger light. Velislana is a warrior who protects light. Mitra is the master of Velislana. Therefore, Perseus only needs to use Mitra's power. He can easily seal Velislana's power. This is also the only nemesis of Velislana's bug-level ability. Fortunately, Su Mo had expected this. I won't use other incarnations to test it. He shook his head. Whether it is the white horse or the wind, I'm afraid it will have no effect on you except the words of the golden sword. Strictly speaking, the golden sword forged with wisdom will also be offset by Mitra's power. However, The golden sword can be forged in considerable quantities because of its understanding of the power of the gods. Even if it is partially offset, it doesn't matter. As long as the manufacturing speed is fast enough, it may be effective against Perseus in front of him. In the original work, Kusanagi Gata defeated the opponent by relying on this effect. However, in the battle in the original work, the protagonist's halo still played a considerable role. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible to defeat Mitra in front of him with only Velaslana's power. Restraint is greater than heaven. Special attack is like a god. This kind of thing is effective for both enemies and me. Ha! That's right. Perseus smiled happily. Velaslana is my partner. His power has no effect on me. Chapter 182, what do you think? Do you want to admit defeat? Although I don't know how many disobedient gods the Godslayer has killed, but judging from his age, it shouldn't be too many. Therefore, Perseus has plenty of time. Admit defeat? Su Mo chuckled. It's too unnecessary to tell jokes. It's too embarrassing to use this sentence as your last words. At this point, there is no need to continue the conversation. The two looked at each other, their eyes calm and dangerous. Come on, yes. Perseus took the lead and attacked Su Mo with his long sword. Clang! The sound of weapons clashing rang out. The Silver Master, who was covered by Su Mo's armed color domineering, easily took the opponent's slash and suppressed it back with amazing, strange power. Are you really a human? Perseus's expression changed from relaxed to sweating in just 2 seconds. He never thought that the God-Slayer in front of him could suppress him greatly in strength without using power. This is not the power that a God-Slayer should have. It's just a little bit of an adventure. Su Mo naturally doesn't have the habit of coming out with a tray. Without the blessing of power, the power of a God-Slayer is not outstanding. But Su Mo has integrated the power of many worlds and has upgraded several times. In addition, he already has the power to move mountains in the pirate world. With so many physical qualities integrated together, even if it is the god of disobedience, if there is no inheritance of superpower, it is definitely not his opponent in terms of strength. Clang, clang, clang. As a heroic god, Perseus's martial arts are among the best, even among the gods of disobedience. However, in the battle with Su Mo, he was firmly suppressed. Whether it is physical fitness, swordsmanship, or consciousness, he was suppressed in all aspects. In just a few seconds of fighting, they clashed countless times. Perseus relied on his superb martial arts and the divine tools on his body to barely cope with it. But it soon ran out of resources. 159 The Eye of Death. Slaying gods, the fierce battle was as swift as lightning and thunder. The slashing caused a storm. Because of the close combat, Su Mo did not use the sword energy, so no large-scale disaster was caused. However, the power of swordsmanship did not weaken at all. After all, no matter what, the power of the sword energy is just an extension of the blade. The height of the fountain will not exceed its source. The power of the sword energy will not exceed the slash of the blade. Under this violent attack, Perseus was about to collapse. But he was a heroic god after all. He was not as good as Su Mo in martial arts, but not much worse. Seeing that he was gradually losing the upper hand and would soon be defeated in close combat, some kind of determination flashed in Perseus' eyes. He stepped forward directly, intending to exchange injuries for injuries. This approach was definitely not a good strategy, but there was no better way in the current situation. Anyway, he has the power to heal. Perseus, who hid his vitals, stepped forward sideways, intending to use his body of the steel hero god to block Su Mo's blade. The sword in his other hand mercilessly slashed towards Su Mo's chest and abdomen. It's not that he didn't want to slash at the heart, but it was too late. Trade injury for injury? Want to exchange blood bars with himself? Su Mo, who immediately understood the other party's plan, had a hint of amusement in his eyes. Facing Perseus's decision, not only did he not evade, but his sword became more powerful. For this reaction, Perseus had expected it. Either exchange blood or avoid. This is a very normal choice. He has also seen heroes like Su Mo who never give in and trade injuries for injuries. Therefore, Perseus's divine power burst out, and his attack was a little faster. However, 293, when his knife was about to approach Su Mo's abdomen. When it was about to be cut, the disobedient god finally noticed the abnormality of the eyes of the Godslayer in front of him. The pupils that flashed with brilliant rainbow light definitely contained a very terrifying power. However, it was too late to regret and hesitate. He chose to go all out. As for Su Mo, after understanding that the other party wanted to exchange injuries for injuries, he immediately opened the mystic eyes of death. According to the setting of the Type Moon world, the mystic eyes of death should not be able to kill gods, because gods themselves have no concept of death. However, this statement is actually untenable. After all, no matter which myth, there are many gods who have been killed. Even the monotheistic crusaders have records of the execution of the Son of God. It is a joke to say that gods cannot be killed. However, the special setting that primitive gods like Tiamat have no concept of death does exist in the Type Moon world. However, it has nothing to do with the world of the Godslayer, the killing of gods in the world of the Godslayer. In fact, the one who was killed was the rebellious and disobedient god. That is to say, it was only necessary to beat the god back to mythology. There was no need to destroy his divinity. In addition, Su Mo himself had experience in killing gods. Therefore, it was not difficult to understand the death of gods. It was just, there are not many dead ends, almost no dead ends. After noticing the dead point and line of death on Perseus, Su Mo was a little surprised. Should I say, he is worthy of being the hero god of steel? Although I don't know whether Perseus has the defensive power of steel protection like the Sword King Tony. However, it can be judged that, even if there is no similar power, Perseus's body defense is far superior to that of ordinary disobedient gods. Perhaps it is because the purity of steel is very high. The defense of this hero god of steel is far better than that of Velislana, who was killed before. Even the mystic eyes of death perception can't capture too many weaknesses. After all, no matter how strong the mystic eyes of death perception are, they still need to see the strength. In itself, it is not an absolutely invincible power. It is just an unfinished product of Barol's death eye. Perhaps in the future, after understanding more death, the mystic eyes of death perception can evolve to see through the death point of the gods at a glance. It can even reach the terrible effect in mythology. Just one glance can make an instant death attack on gods. It can kill all gods in one glance. But at least now his death eyes have not reached that level. It has only reached the realm of gods in terms of strength. But this is enough. Swish! The silver master covered with dark domineering. When Perseus could not dodge, he cut the death line in Perseus' chest. Like a hot knife cutting butter. Cut the death line smoothly. The blood of the god of disobedience splashed in large quantities, like a gorgeous flower. As long as you can see the death line, you can completely ignore the defense. The terrible power of the death eyes made Su Mo completely ignore the defense of the steel hero god's tempered body. Almost cut it open directly. And Perseus, who was seriously injured. I thought that I could at least hit the Godslayer in front of me. At least, I can exchange a serious injury for a minor injury, right? However, the blade's momentum became even stronger, but it only moved half an inch closer to Su Mo's chest. Chapter 183. For some reason, it was completely impossible to touch Su Mo's skin, not to mention causing harm. Is this the restriction of space? Finally aware of this inexplicable power, and realizing that he could not hurt Su Mo without using his power, Perseus made a prompt decision, dragged his seriously injured body back thousands of meters, and landed directly on the crater of Mount Vesuvius. For the god killer and the god of disobedience, this distance was just a breath away. So, Perseus's expression was still alert. But after noticing the injuries on his body, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. The plan completely failed. How come you have so much power? How many gods have you killed? The god of disobedience finally realized that he had underestimated the other party. The Su Mo in front of him was not a novice god killer at all, but a god killer demon king. Not to mention the repulsion that could interfere with space. Just the knife that the opponent slashed at his chest and abdomen before it caused him unimaginable damage. Kidneys, liver, lungs, spleen. Except for the heart, other organs have been completely necrotic. This is not a simple destruction of organs, but a state similar to being killed directly. Originally, Perseus wanted to exchange injuries. He relied on his strong healing ability. Even if the injuries were exchanged, he could heal quickly. However, now, no matter how he urged his divine power, the internal organs destroyed by the opponent could no longer be restored. In other words, from a conceptual sense, these internal organs of his own were wiped out. What a terrible power. It's just like the sickle of the god of death. This is a business secret. Sumo looked like he had nothing to say. In fact, he had already activated the power, Lord of the Sky, in secret. He was gathering the magic power, waiting to give the seriously injured opponent a thunderbolt. It seems that I will be defeated like this today. It's really not beautiful. The disobedient Perseus shook his head and sighed. In fact, he also activated his power in secret. After a breath, the two changed their faces at the same time. The sword in Perseus's hand instantly switched to a longbow, and a quiver appeared behind him. He instantly drew his bow and put an arrow on it. He did not aim at Su Mo, but at the sun in the sky. Sun rising in the east. Give me strength. Give my enemy, the god-killing demon king, the hammer of defeat. The words calling on the sun gave him the power of the sun wheel. That ordinary arrow, shot high in the sky, immediately split into thousands of rays of light. Thousands of arrows containing the flames of the sun covered the space around Su Mo. This attack was unavoidable. Superpowers probably won't be useful. After realizing the power contained in the arrow, Su Mo gave up the idea of using repulsion to bounce it off. The LV5 level superpower is indeed powerful, especially his enhanced version. It can even stop the ordinary attack of the god of disobedience. However, it did not stop the power of power. The best way to deal with power is, of course, to fight it with power. So, boom, boom, boom. The dazzling thunder that had been brewing for a long time suddenly fell from the sky. Thousands of lightning directly shot down all the arrows containing Yangyan. Then, a terrifying lightning column with a thickness of more than 10 meters hit Perseus' head fiercely. At this time, the seriously injured Perseus barely summoned Yangyan to fight against it. The sky thunder and sky fire immediately began to compete with each other. Fortunately, this is the world of the god killer, and it did not cause overload. Otherwise, Mount Vesuvius would probably erupt. When Perseus used Yangyan to fight against the sky thunder, he did not forget the existence of Su Mo. After withstanding a wave of deadly thunder, he was about to search for the enemy's position. But he found that he had lost the trace of Su Mo. Oh no! His heart sank. He was alert to the highest level, but it was too late. 7 Knights assassination technique. The ultimate move. Flash sheath prison of prison. Puff! The attack, like a phantom, came from the blind spot of his sight at the same time. The magic eye flashing with rainbow luster brought the power of a sure kill. When Perseus had no time to defend, and the defense was completely ineffective, Su Mo pierced his heart with a sword, instantly killed the disobedient god in front of him. 160 Pandora, the last king. The mother's love deteriorated. Su Mo was already proficient in killing gods. However, this was the first time to defeat a god without the power of Ultraman Tiga. Especially facing this disobedient god who restrained him, Su Mo was quite satisfied with the result of the battle in front of him. However, after the disobedient god, Perseus fell to the ground, and his figure dissipated into light and disappeared. Su Mo did not relax because of this, but stood there, as if waiting for something. About a few minutes later, a few hundred meters away from where Perseus died, the particles of light shone and bounced. Finally, like plasticine, they were fixed into a human form. Perseus, the god of disobedience, was resurrected. However, at this moment, he was not happy because of his resurrection. Looking at Su Mo, who was silently watching him, Perseus was very distressed. Even in the past, when he faced Polydectes who coveted his mother, he was not so distressed. Can you foresee the future? The hero god of steel showed a pained expression that was not in line with his heroic identity. You can even guess that I have the ability to resurrect. The sunset that sets in the evening will rise again the next day. This inheritance of resurrection from the dead. It is the grace of vitality represented by the sun. Although in physics, the sun is a nuclear fusion fireball with extremely destructive characteristics. But in mysticism, the sun is a symbol of vigorous vitality. The healing ability that Perseus showed before was also a grace from the sun. Use the last divine power to revive yourself. Perseus originally wanted to wait until he had rested before looking for Su Mo to challenge. Unexpectedly, the other party was not fooled by this trick at all. He kept squatting until he was resurrected. In the game, this is called fountain abuse, an unfriendly behavior. Rather than foreseeing the future, I like to recall the past. Su Mo said so. Recalling the past, the plot he saw. Perseus did not understand this sentence, but he guessed that Su Mo must have known his identity and ability through some means. After realizing this, his expression was somewhat relieved. Is that so? Then my defeat is indeed not unfair. However, even in this situation, I don't intend to surrender. Surrender is not a heroic character. Perseus foresaw his defeat, but still held the sword tightly. He felt that he could still struggle. Then, in less than 10 seconds, Perseus was completely defeated. Truly returned to the myth. The reason why this can be confirmed is not because of anything else, but because Su Mo felt Pandora's call again. Chapter 184. Following the power of the summons, Su Mo stepped into the netherworld. The purple-haired witch with twin ponytails was obviously very happy when she saw Su Mo respond to the summons. Well done, my most lovely child. To deal with bad guys like Perseus, you have to crush their pride and kill them directly with martial arts. Let those hateful steel hearts be convinced. It's best to give them an unforgettable lesson. As soon as she came in, Pandora threw herself on Su Mo very happily. She looked proud as if she saw her child finally got admitted to Tsinghua University and Peking University. She looked a little cute when she was smug. However, is it necessary to have such a big grudge? Hearing her words, Su Mo couldn't help but complain. So you call me here specifically just to say this? What do you mean just for this? This is something worth celebrating. Pandora pouted and retorted. This reaction is too exaggerated. Su Mo sighed. Although he said so, but Su Mo can understand Pandora's feelings. Pandora is a witch and one of the Earth Mother gods. The most favorite thing for the Steel Hero gods, led by Perseus, is to kill dragons and snakes. Dragons and snakes are the followers of the Earth Mother God, and in many cases they are even the incarnations of the Earth Mother God. The story of the Steel Heroes conquering dragons and snakes. In essence, it is a story that the Steel Hero God conquers the Earth Mother God and degrades her as a follower wife or daughter. Therefore, as the conquered dragons and snakes, a witch like Pandora will naturally hate Steel Hero gods like Perseus, compared to the Steel Hero gods who are very disgusted. The Demon King, the God Slayer, happens to be Pandora's child. Seeing the God Slayer, she cultivated kill her enemy. Pandora is naturally very happy. There is a sense of relief that her son has grown up and will protect his mother. That's not an exaggeration. Pandora puffed up her cheeks and wanted to press Su Mo to sit on the ground. But her petite figure couldn't even reach Su Mo's shoulders, so she had to pull his sleeves and act coquettishly. Although he didn't recognize Pandora's identity as her mother, the witch in front of him was indeed his ally. So, after thinking about it, Su Mo still sat down on the ground. Let's see what this witch wants to do. Pandora was very happy to see Su Mo sitting down. Clearing her throat, she pretended to be a teacher and warned Su Mo. Steel is not only the enemy of us witches, but also the enemy of the God Slayer. Although you successfully defeated Steel this time, but there is still a stronger Steel in the Far East, so you have to pay extra attention. Hearing Pandora's words, Su Mo was thoughtful. Stronger Steel? It should refer to the boss of the God Slayer world, the last king, right? This strongest Steel Hero god, whose mission is to eliminate all God Slayers. It will come every other era. For the God Slayer, he is an object that cannot be avoided. That's right. Pandora nodded. Due to the covenant of the gods, I can't tell you too much, But the strongest steel is indeed a very powerful enemy. Although you have the power of the Giant of Light, you should not be afraid of the other party. But you still have to be careful. Originally, Pandora was still a little worried. After all, the last king has killed countless god slayers since ancient times. However, thinking back to the overwhelming power of the Giant of Light that Su Mo showed a few days ago, she felt that there was no need to worry. Even if the last king comes now, this child of hers is sure to win. So, just a little reminder is enough. I understand. Su Mo nodded. He knows a lot about the last king, so even if Pandora can't give too much detailed information, it doesn't matter. 0. Please give flowers. 0. Don't talk about the power of Ultraman Tiga. If I can get the third cup of the Law of Heaven, even if I don't use the power of Ultraman Tiga, I won't lose to this guy. So after keeping this in mind, he was more concerned about another point, the newly acquired power. Yes, it's exactly what I want, feeling the increased power in his body. After noticing its nature, Su Mo immediately smiled. Generally speaking, after the first transformation of the God Slayer's physique, after defeating the gods, they will not be pulled to the netherworld, and they can directly obtain new powers. Kasumo's treatment is different. Pandora really likes him. So after arriving in the netherworld, he realized his new power. The power obtained by the God Slayer is originally related to his inner desire. Pandora explained on the side. It is almost impossible for a God Slayer to be dissatisfied with the power he has obtained. Really? Hearing Pandora's words, Su Mo shook his head. I am dissatisfied with this. What? Hearing his words, Pandora was very surprised. How is it possible? The power you gain should really be your inner choice. The petite, which frowned slightly. My own children question my own rituals. This is a dereliction of duty as a mother. Could it be that there was really something wrong with my ritual? She was very concerned about this and looked at Su Mo nervously. What are you dissatisfied with? She asked immediately. Su Mo answered immediately. I'm a little unhappy with the quantity. After killing the gods, how great it would be if I could gain 10 or 8 powers at once. Hearing this, Pandora was dumbfounded. It took him a while to react, and he looked at Su Mo complainingly. You evil-minded child, don't tease your mother. It really shocked me. Return 10 or 8 powers. Many gods of disobedience do not have this number of powers. You are too greedy. Please reflect on it for me. Angrily, Pandora gave Su Mo a soft scolding. Not surprisingly, Su Mo turned a deaf ear to him. The two complained to each other and played around for a while. Sumatsai said goodbye and returned to the real world. After he left, a secluded world in a pure white space, the smile on Pandora's face did not disappear. The witch girl with purple hair and twin tails sat on the ground holding her knees. He stared blankly in the direction Su Mo left. After a long time, he let out a sigh. This child, when can he do it again? Ever since Su Mo killed the god, this place has become lively. Every few days, I would come over to chat with Pandora. Pandora, who had been waiting for her for thousands of years, was not used to being alone. The reason why I summoned Su Mo this time, except actually being happy that Perseus was defeated. Chapter 185 there is also the matter of the last king. More likely, Pandora just wanted to talk to Su Mo. However, she herself may not have noticed this. Motherly love has deteriorated. 161 Misty Space, God's right seat ritual, right light after returning from the netherworld. Su Mo returned to the crater of Mount Vesuvius. Then he took out his mobile phone and contacted Liliana and Erica. At this time, the time had reached the evening. It was too busy to go back to Sardinia at this time. Just stay here for a day. Erica, who received Sumo's call, had just arrived at the local magic society not long ago. Just about to tell the local magician that the god Slayer and the god of disobedience might be fighting here. Then, from Sumo's phone call, she learned that the god of disobedience had been conquered. Erica's mind was blank. Could it be so outrageous? But thinking that her master was Su Mo, she calmed down. Yes, my master is so outrageous. After asking, except for the underground ruins in the no man's land that were destroyed, the whole city did not suffer any disasters. Therefore, Erica, who was relieved, once again had a new understanding of Su Mo's unfathomable strength. This time, he didn't even transform into a giant of light. In this state, he can solve the god of disobedience without any movement. He is worthy of being my master. After confirming, she immediately found a place to live in the local area and went to Mount Vesuvius to meet Su Mo, Liliana, and others. 310 Erica is worthy of being a caring little housekeeper. Not long after notifying her, Su Mo laid down in the palace at ease. While waiting for dinner, he entered the Misty Space. After arriving at the Misty Space, Godslayer Su Mo saw that the number of Su Mo seemed to have increased by 2. However, they were not newcomers, but old people he was familiar with. Su Mo from the magical index world, and Su Mo from the earthly world. After meeting, naturally, they high-fived each other. Su Mo from the Godslayer world only then realized, "You actually got the light execution technique? This is a good thing. You can directly reverse the priority. Get the special attack technique. Even for the Godslayer, it is a very practical ability. If I had this power just now, I could have dealt with Perseus within a minute. Even if the opponent is the hero god of steel, it is useless. With the light execution technique, it is not the opponent who restrains you, but you restrain the opponent." Hearing his words, Su Mo from the Magic Index world only then noticed the extra power in his body. "Perseus, is this the god you just conquered?" After realizing that it was this god, Su Mo from the Magic Index world showed an interested expression. Although the Aryan sun god Mitra was absorbed into the Persian Zoroastrianism in later generations and became a very important god in Zoroastrianism. But before that, Mitra was actually the supreme god worshipped by Mithraism. This sect was once very popular in Rome. Even Christmas is actually the birthday of Mitra, not the birthday of Jesus, the Son of God. In the Bible, the time and date of the birth of Jesus, the Son of God, are uncertain. The reason why Christmas was set as the day to celebrate the birth of Jesus was simply because they wanted to occupy the magpie's nest and rob the faith. After all, the passionate and unrestrained Romans didn't care which god they believed in. As long as they could have a holiday and eat, drink, and have fun, it would be fine. If you use this, maybe you can construct an interesting spell. Thinking seriously, Su Mo's eyes became brighter and brighter. After a moment of silence, he slowly spoke. "Well, I seem to have a clue about the spell of the right fire." Hearing him say this, Su Mo from the earthly world and Su Mo from the god-killer world came over immediately. They looked at him in surprise. "Are you sure?" The two newcomers didn't know why they were so excited at first. After searching the information of the right seed of God in their minds, they immediately understood. "What? Is it possible to master even this spell?" They were also shocked and immediately ran to the front of Su Mo of the Magic Forbidden. There are 4 spells of the right seed of God: wind in front, water in the back, land on the left, and fire on the right. Because of the affinity, Su Mo can only master the light punishment spell of the left land. For the other spells, they are not enough to meet the conditions. The light punishment spell is enough to surprise Su Mo and others. This excellent auxiliary spell is as practical as power, and even better. However, compared with the right fire spell, the light punishment spell is nothing. The technique of the right flame is indeed a mystery in the original work. In the original work, the right flame has a nearly invincible power in the early stage. No matter what kind of opponent he is, his holy right can lead to a stronger power than the opponent and defeat him. Such power is almost impossible to have an opponent in theory. The stronger the enemy, the more powerful he can get. It is a bug-like existence. But the most powerful thing about the right fire is actually himself. It is precisely because he is born with the power to save the world that he can be so powerful. The holy right is the unique power of the right fire. It is not the power of the right seed of God. This is why, among so many right seeds of God, only the right fire can surpass the Pope. If it is not the right fire, even if the technique is obtained, it will definitely not be so strong. However, even so, the technique of the right fire is definitely extraordinary. After all, this is the technique of Michael, the angel on the right side of God. Whether from the perspective of status or from the perspective of legend, Michael's technique will never lose to other angels. Su Mo finally understood the content of this technique after obtaining the information of the right seed of God. So, they were surprised by this. Among the right seed of God, the technique belongs to Michael. It is called Light of the Right. The right light technique originated from the battle between the Son of Light and the Son of Darkness in the Dead Sea Scrolls. In that battle, Michael, as the Vice King of Heaven and the Lord of Light, led the angel army to fight against the dark army of Belial, the Lord of Darkness. The two sides fought for 40 years. The Lord of Light won the first 3 battles, and the Lord of Darkness won the last 3 battles. In the last battle, the Lord Yahweh personally took action and gave Michael the holy light, allowing Michael to defeat the Lord of Darkness. From then on, Michael's status was above other angels, without a doubt. Sometimes, it even reflected the meaning of being on an equal footing with God. This invincible holy light was woven into a technique. That is the right light technique. The power of the right light technique is very simple. Its true appearance is the orange-red lightsaber that the right fire often uses. As for its effect, according to the enemy's strength, the power of the lightsaber will automatically adjust to the level that can destroy the enemy zero. As long as the user has enough magic power, the power of the lightsaber has almost no upper limit. The stronger the enemy, the stronger the power of the lightsaber. This power that is necessarily stronger than the enemy is the key to why Michael was able to defeat the Lord of Darkness in the myth. And the fire of the right has the power to save the world, but does not know how to use it. Chapter 186. It is with the help of the right light technique that he was able to release part of his power. It could be said that the right light technique is the regulator of the holy right power. His later plan, the Third World War, and attracting the malice of the whole world, all are based on this technique. In short, the right light technique is an extremely strong attack technique. No matter what kind of opponent you are facing, as long as the user has enough magic power, the lightsaber of right light can exert a power that surpasses the opponent and kill the enemy with one blow. This technique can be said to have the ultimate power to kill people across levels. Of course, the shortcomings are also obvious. The demand for magic power is too high. That is, the fire of the right, a guy who is born with the holy right, can completely ignore the magic factor. No matter who the enemy is, he can exert a power that surpasses it. If it is an ordinary magician, although it can also activate the right light technique. However, due to the restriction of the magic power in the body, the upper limit of the power of the lightsaber is constant. Not to mention, if the power reaches the upper limit, then right light will be enough to exhaust all the magic power in the caster. Let the caster become a lamb to be slaughtered. So, in various senses, the caster of right light technique, it is difficult to play a role in conventional battles. This power is only suitable for the decisive blow at the decisive moment. Then retreat quickly. However, there are so many troubles, which proves the power of this technique. As long as the magic power allows, no matter what kind of enemy, it can be destroyed. For Su Mo in many worlds, 3.0 is a skill that can change the key destiny. If you can really master this technique, Gatangia in the world of Tiga, Acnarolia in the world of Fairy Tale, the last king of the world of God's Slayer. These bosses can be solved with just one blow. Therefore, it is of great significance, seeing the expressions of other Su Mo who care so much. Although Su Mo from the magical index world could understand their feelings, he was also a little speechless. I just said that I have a clue, but the existing knowledge is not enough to build it successfully. This technique is completely different from the difficulty of the light execution technique. I need to study it carefully. The properties of Mitra and the Son of God overlap, which can allow Su Mo to obtain the properties of the Son of God. In the Christian religion, the names of the Son of God and Michael are often confused. This allows Su Mo to obtain the properties of Michael. According to this idea, As long as the synchronization technique is constructed, Su Mo can automatically obtain the properties of Michael, and thus be qualified to use the right light technique, although it is theoretically feasible. However, this approach is too convoluted after all. Therefore, a lot of knowledge is needed to fill in the gaps before it can be constructed. It is not a matter of one day or one night. 162, the third method plus right light. The method of summoning gods. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much time it takes. We support you. Hearing Su Mo from the Magical Index world say this, the god slayer Su Mo immediately encouraged him. If we can perfect this technique, we can even get a trump card that surpasses Ultraman Tiga, let alone Ultraman Tiga, even Ultraman Tiga's shining form. In terms of its value, it may be slightly inferior to the right light technique. With the cursed power he is now, if he uses the right light technique, the ultimate destructive power is likely to reach the level of Starburst. If that's all, maybe the value can't be seen. After all, Tiga's full strength is enough to explode a star. But if he is in the state of Ultraman Tiga and then uses the right light technique, in this case, how much ultimate power can be exerted? Even Su Mo is not quite sure, but it must be far beyond his imagination. Yes. Su Mo in the world of Dicuo also nodded. Not to mention, didn't you want to plan the Holy Grail before? If you can get the third cup of the Law of Heaven, then the magic power is endless. Then, use this magic power to activate the right light ritual. At this point, Su Mo of the earthly world stopped. But his meaning is self-evident. Then, wouldn't it be invincible? Su Mo of the pirate world's eyes lit up. Not invincible, but as long as there is no bug, there is basically no problem. Su Mo of the Type Moon world shook his head, his eyes also shining. Infinite magic power. As long as there is enough magic power, you can play a ritual with unlimited power. 0.5 if you can really get these 2 points. It is probably a bit difficult to achieve the power to destroy the world. But it is probably not difficult to reach the level of destroying the galaxy. This is a huge leap in strength. So, if there is anything you can help with, just tell us. Su Mo of the God Slayer world looked at Su Mo of the Magic Index excitedly. Whether it's the angel who wants to kill the Crusaders, or some other power, I will try my best to help you. Hearing his words, Su Mo, who was in the wrong world, couldn't help but complain. The front part is very energetic. I added the word try my best at the end, but it feels like it's getting wimpy. You think I am willing? Su Mo from the God Killer world spread his hands helplessly. He also wanted to pat his chest and say that he could defeat whatever disobedient god he wanted. Unfortunately, this seems impossible to do. The coming of the god of disobedience is not certain. Perseus was only able to be summoned using the method in the original work. Therefore, no matter how much he wants to kill God, he can only wait for the god of disobedience to come. I understand. Su Mo, who was in the Forbidden World, finally understood the enthusiasm of others. The light of the right technique is very powerful for all Su Mo. However, the situation faced by Su Mo in the Magic Forbidden City was too dangerous. Learning this technique will greatly increase your combat power. However, even if you learn it, you are not qualified to face the devil. Therefore, he, who was in the most dangerous situation, was not as motivated as other Su Mo. After seeing other Su Mo looking forward to it, he just nodded. I'll try my best to speed up the process and study this technique. I will never be polite if I can use you anywhere. Anyway, they're the same person, so there is no need to be too polite. But speaking of ways to summon gods, why not try the magic of the Moon World? With that said, he suggested to God Killer Su Mo. In the world of God Slayer, it is also possible to use witches to forcibly summon gods. But not only is the success rate low, moreover, most of those witches will become disposable consumables. Even if we abandon the concept of good and evil, it is definitely not a long-term solution. Otherwise, the Marquis of Vauban would not have given up after only a few attempts. In comparison, the success rate of summoning heroic spirits in the moon-shaped world is very high. Although, That is because the Xingyue world has such a thing as the Hall of Valor. However, the world of Godslayer also has things like the Divine Realm or the Underworld. If you can learn how to summon heroic spirits in the moon-shaped world, and words used to summon the gods, doesn't it mean that Su Mo in the world of god killers can always have gods to kill him? Killing gods after the first time will only increase the number of powers, but will not enhance the power of the curse. Su Mo from the Forbidden World touched his chin and then said, Chapter 187. I'm curious, if you kill hundreds of gods and gain hundreds of powers, what level of strength will you reach? Although generally speaking, the increase in the number of powers does not have a big impact on the strength level. However, quantitative changes accumulate into qualitative changes. When hundreds of powers are added together, even if they are only used in conjunction, there can be a considerable increase. Even if the total amount of curse power remains unchanged, the power exerted will be completely different. I highly doubt that if it reaches that level, the King of the End will have no choice but to be beaten by you, even if the magic power is not much. But as long as it is applied properly and mutually amplified, it is definitely a terrifying force. However, in the thousands of years of the Godslayer world, no one has ever been able to kill hundreds of gods. The Godslayers have the most power, and there are probably only a dozen of them. So, no one can verify this. You have a very big idea. God killer Su Mo complained after hearing Magic Forbidden Su Mo's suggestion. However, his expression was indeed somewhat moving. If you can summon enough gods of disobedience, you can gain power every day. One day, I will be able to collect the power of an entire divine system. By then, the strength will have undergone earth-shaking changes. The only problem is that I don't know if the method of summoning heroic spirits in the Xingyue world can be used to summon the gods in the Godslayer world. Said, Su Mo from the world of god killers cast his sights on Xingyue Su Mo. He, a local, is more familiar with information about the Xingyue world. Facing the questioning eyes of god killer Su Mo from the moon-shaped world could only shake his head. Even if you ask that, I don't know the specific method of summoning heroic spirits. He grew up in the Nanaya family and the Tono family. He is quite familiar with the Seven Knights assassination technique and the direct death demon eye. However, it can only be said that he knows nothing about the summoning technology of heroic spirits. Now, he has indeed summoned the servants, but it is just a copycat, and he does not understand the knowledge of summoning. However, I think the idea seems feasible. After thinking about it, Su Mo from Xingyue World said, even if the summoning method of the Holy Grail War doesn't work, the clock tower still has magic information on seance. There must be some useful part of this magic knowledge. The magic in the Xingyue world is basically gathered into a system. Research methods are very similar to modern science. Therefore, even the heroic spirit summoning ritual of the Holy Grail War cannot be used directly in the world of God Killer. The knowledge about spiritual seance in the moon-shaped world may also be effective. It should be able to help Su Mo summon gods. It's okay to have these. God Killer Su Mo nodded. No matter what, it is a good thing to increase the chances of summoning gods. Please pay attention to this aspect. Hearing the words of God Killer Su Mo from the moon-shaped world shook his head. It's just win-win cooperation. No trouble. Something very difficult for the world of Godslayers. Maybe it can be easily solved in the Xingyue world. It is precisely because of this that they, who travel across different worlds, need to cooperate. This way you can become stronger faster. After listening to what a few people said, Su Mo, who was in the wrong world, cleared his throat 310. Ahem! The class representative is here to summarize. In short, in the Forbidden World, I need to spend part of my energy on the light of the right technique. In the world of Xingyue, my main goal is the Holy Grail, followed by information about sections. As for the other three of us, we only need to provide support on the side for the time being. That's the summary. Is there anything you need to add? After listening, several people looked at each other. They all shook their heads. For them, right now, the main priority is the completion of the light of the right technique and the third technique itself. These are two major factors that may lead to huge changes in combat effectiveness. In comparison, seances are only secondary goals. Seeing that everyone had no objections, Su Mo, who was in the wrong world, nodded. In this case, there is one last issue that I would like to discuss with everyone. Hear what he said? Several other Su Mo looked over curiously. I don't know what other issues we need to discuss together. Su Mo, who was in the wrong world, immediately spoke. In order to prevent things like the newcomers from happening again, I think it would be better if we arrange for one person to be on duty and take over the shift. D. Wrong. Su Mo refers to the unlucky incident between Su Mo from the pirate world and Su Mo from the Xinhua world. If Su Mo, the god killer, hadn't come over at that time, then wouldn't these two newcomers always think that there are only two of them in the foggy space? Although, this situation should not last long. Sooner or later they will meet. However, everything is possible. What if there is a person who doesn't come to the foggy space often and never discovers the Su Mo army? To cope with this situation, Su Mo, who is in the wrong world, feels that at least one person should be left on duty here every time. You can't miss the newcomers, and you can't let the newcomers miss them. To avoid this happening again. 163 The Fourth Holy Grail War, that makes sense. Su Mo from the God Slayer world nodded. Anyway, the time inside the foggy space is isolated from the outside. No matter how long you stay inside, it won't affect what's happening outside. It's a good idea to always have someone on guard. In addition to avoiding missing newcomers, it can also avoid errors in shared abilities. He agreed very much with the proposal of Dicuo Su Mo. To share abilities, they must come in person and then find someone who has already shared them. After he met a newcomer before, he could only share his already shared power with the newcomer's power. The light execution technique that other Su Mos had already mastered. You have to wait until those Su Mos come before you can get it. There will inevitably be a time difference during this period. If someone can be on duty here, then it can be guaranteed that every Su Mo who comes to the foggy space can directly share the latest abilities. This can avoid these problems to a large extent. After hearing what God Slayer Su Mo said, others also realized this. I agree, that's a good idea. Soon, the proposal was passed. So, who will stay to guard this time? Su Mo from the God Slayer world asked. It doesn't matter to me. I need to wait here anyway. The heroic spirit summoning technique and the spirit conjuration technique of the Type Moon world. He can't help with the third method and the right light for the time being. Compared to this, for the God Slayer Su Mo, being able to handle the spell of summoning gods is the most important thing. Thinking of the hundreds of powers that Su Mo from the Magic Index said before, he felt very motivated. So, he was very concerned about the magic information of the Type Moon world. I don't have time this time. I have to go back and upgrade later. Su Mo from the earthly wrong world shook his head. He just got the experience of defeating the god of disobedience Perseus. Can't wait any longer. Otherwise, when Su Mo from the Tiga world arrives, it will be a waste if two people overlap. So it's not his turn to guard this time. I'll come next time. He said so. Chapter 188. I'm going to have a holy grail war. Su Mo from the moon-shaped world also shook his head. The third method and the heroic spirit summoning technique both require him to handle. So it is impossible to stay behind this time. After hearing what the two said, Su Mo from the pirate world spoke. Those of you who have plans, naturally give priority to your plans. Anyway, I have nothing to do. Leave this shift to me. Su Mo in other worlds has big things to do. In comparison, he is very relaxed. Therefore, Su Mo in the pirate world naturally doesn't mind staying behind for a while. It's not a chore anyway. Then it's up to you. Several other Su Mo nodded. After the discussion is completed, the three Su Mos, Dicuo, Majin, and Xinhua left after saying goodbye. Only Su Mo from the God Killer world and Su Mo from the pirate world are left. Staying in the misty space, the two chatted while waiting. Speaking of which, what stage are you at now? Su Mo in the God Killer world looked at himself in the pirate world. I have used your swordsmanship and domineering skills before, and they are basically at the top level in the pirate world. Even among admirals, your strength should be among the strongest, right? The swordsmanship that allowed him to fight against the god of disobedience really impressed the God Killer Su Mo. And based on the information in my mind, in the world of pirates, not only does his swordsmanship reach the level of a great swordsman, He is also a master in physical skills and domineering. It can be called a monster-level powerhouse with no blind spots in all aspects, although it is definitely not up to the level of the god of disobedience. However, it is not difficult at all to defeat ordinary divine beasts. Even if placed in the world of Godslayer, it still has the strength of the ancestors, divine beasts, and paladin levels. From an ordinary person without golden fingers, he has grown to this point. To be honest, he thought it was much better than him. Here are his questions. Su Mo from the pirate world thought for a while and replied, at present, it has been more than 10 years since the pirate king was executed. In the new world, the pattern of the 4 emperors has been initially formed. Now our navy is selecting the Shichibukai. After listening to his introduction, Su Mo from the God-Killer world nodded. Then, a smirk appeared on the corner of his mouth. Now your power should be considered invincible in the world of pirates. With such power, don't you want to cause trouble? Whether it is Neptune, Uranus, or Pluto. Even with these 3 super ancient weapons, they would never be Su Mo's opponent now. Under such circumstances, he stayed in the navy honestly. This is not in line with Su Mo's character. Therefore, God-Killer Su Mo immediately encouraged Admiral Su Mo, hoping that he would cause trouble. Hear the words. Admiral Su Mo showed a sly smile. Is it possible that you think that without Goldfinger, I won't cause trouble? They are all Su Mo, and their natures are the same. Even without a golden finger, he is not a bastard like Kizuru who clocks in at work. From the very beginning, I impressed Dorag with my damn charm. It has been laid out for several years now. I originally thought that we would have to wait until Luffy went to sea and use him to detonate all conflicts in one go. Now it seems that there is no need to wait for a better time. Now, I am the time. His words were extremely domineering. Su Mo from the God-Killer world immediately understood a lot. It seems that you originally planned to plant the red flag all over the world. As expected of me, patted his thigh. He immediately pestered Admiral Su Mo out of curiosity. Want to know more of his side of the story. In the misty space, Su Mo from the world of God-Killer was listening to the story with great interest. Shape Moon World, the island country in the far east, Fuyuki City. Su Mo, who left the foggy space, opened his eyes. What I saw was the falling snow all over the sky. It is winter at this time. He is currently sitting on a park bench, wearing a fluffy coat. Looking at the snowy scene in front of him, he was about to stand up. Suddenly, a familiar aura approached from behind. Then comes, crack. A cup of warm coffee was pressed against his face. Master, please keep warm. The cute girl with the stupid hair on her head swaying slightly and a charming smile said to Su Mo with a serious and thoughtful expression. You humans are not as good as the servants in terms of physical fitness. If you catch a cold, you will be very uncomfortable. It was obvious that the girl cared about Su Mo very much. After all, this is the master who summoned her during the Holy Grail War. Although he is not very old, he is still a teenager, but he is very cute. Moreover, he did not dislike himself. She was naturally very fond of him. Well, thanks a lot, Okita. Su Mo nodded and took the cup of hot coffee. With his previous physical condition, this temperature would not make him catch a cold, but it will also feel cold. After noticing this, the girl thoughtfully bought hot coffee to keep warm. But now he doesn't need this kind of thing at all. The various superimposed and fused physiques made him completely immune to cold and heat. Even in the South Pole and the North Pole, he could move freely without clothes. But after all, it was the girl's intention. He would naturally not refuse. After hearing his thanks, the slender girl in front of him was very happy. But after noticing his wording, she still made a small correction. Master, although the Holy Grail War has not officially begun, you can't be careless. I am very happy to call me by my good name directly, but it would be better to call me Saber outside. Hearing the girl's admonition, Su Mo nodded obediently. It was my negligence. I will pay attention, Saber. The slender girl in front of him with a very cute appearance. It was the servant that Su Mo had summoned before arriving at the misty space. In the Edo period, the captain of the first team of the Shinsengumi swordsmen in the late shogunate, Okita Tsuji. For the previous Su Mo, summoning Okita Tsuji, the genius swordsman, was not a loss. As a master of the Tenzin Rishin Ryu, Okita Tsuji's swordsmanship is very advanced. His swordsmanship has even reached the level of being able to condense into a treasure. Originally, Sumo was just planning to find a teacher. Swordsmanship is just the skill he needs, and Okita Tsuji's personality is also easy to get along with. And he doesn't mind that Sumo has no idea of seizing the Holy Grail. And for Sumo now, if he wants to win, he doesn't need to rely on the power of the servant. Servants, as long as they are cute, are enough. In this regard, Okita is fully capable of this. That's enough. The master is stronger than the servant. Isn't this common sense among time travelers? Chapter 189, $164 Killer. Kenneth is confident of victory, master. What are we waiting for? The swordswoman with hair color between light cherry and gold sat next to Sumo, curiously looking at the master in front of her. Heroic spirits usually have their own wishes before they respond to the master's call and become servants. So, generally speaking, both servants and masters have reasons to obtain the Holy Grail. However, this general theory does not apply to the two people in front of them. At first, Sumo just wanted a teacher who could teach him. Of course, he also had a desire for the Holy Grail, so he was responded to by the Holy Grail. In Okita Tsuji, the reason why she was willing to become a servant was because she had a wish she wanted to fulfill. However, her wish did not require the Holy Grail. After becoming Sumo's servant, it was already fulfilled. She died young, and her only regret was that she could not go to the end with her teammates. Her wish was just to fight with her teammates to the end. Therefore, Okita Tsuji didn't care about Sumo's previous idea of not preparing to fight for the Holy Grail. Her wish has been fulfilled. Next, she just needs to obey the master's orders. However, even so, she was very curious about Sumo's behavior. On such a cold winter night, he pulled her to sit in the park for a long time. Even if she is a heroic spirit, she feels a little cold. I was waiting for a killer to get off work and take you out for a walk. Sumo finished the last sip of hot coffee in his hand and replied, "It seems that it is not necessary now." The purpose of his trip was very simple. Just to deal with Ryanosuke Tsuji on the way. This guy who was accidentally chosen by the Holy Grail in the original book is an out-and-out killer. Twisted guys who enjoy killing are not very common even in this world. Therefore, Sumo scouted the place a day in advance and found the place where this guy worked. However, in order not to cause a riot at that time, he did not choose to do it. Originally, he was going to wait until the evening to do it. But now it seems that there is no need for this. Murderer. Hearing Sumo's words, Okita Tsuji frowned and showed a disgusted expression. There were also murderers in her era, guys who liked to test their knives on ordinary people. She naturally hated this kind of existence that took pleasure in taking lives. Well, it's the one at the door of the bar. Sumo said casually. Okita Tsuji raised his head and looked at the brightly lit building not far away. At the door of the bar, a young man with orange hair and an unusually cheerful smile was talking to the woman next to him. Ordinary people may not be able to see the essence of this young man. On the contrary, they will feel that this young man has a dangerous charm. This is why he is very popular with women. However, the sharp Okita Tsuji saw the unusual temperament of this young man at a glance. Different from the murderers he had met before, but equally twisted. Is this the killer? I'll go get him now. From the look in Ryanosuke Uzumaki's eyes, he had already regarded the woman in front of him as prey and might soon attack her. Okita Tsuji immediately grasped the hilt of the sword at his waist, ready to get rid of the killer. However, he was stopped by Sumo. Wait. After being stopped by Sumo, Miss Okita immediately put down her hand holding the hilt of the sword and looked at Sumo in confusion. Master? Aren't you going to get rid of him? Or do you want to wait until there are fewer people before you do it? Yes, but not completely. Sumo nodded, then shook his head. When Okita Tsuji in front of him was confused. After, he looked up at the sky. There is a legend in my hometown that people who do too many bad things will be struck by lightning. Sumo said leisurely, and then looked at the girl in front of him. Do you believe it? Hearing his words, the girl in front of him showed a confused and funny expression. If you do too many bad things, you will be struck by lightning? Isn't this just a lie for children? I didn't expect the master to be so naive and still believe this. When he said this, Okita Tsuji's words were swallowed up by a loud noise. Boom! In the moonlit night sky. Suddenly, a huge lightning bolt struck down. Like a punishment from heaven, it struck the ground. Why did it suddenly thunder? Okita Tsuji looked at the place where the lightning struck in confusion. Then she was stunned. At the door of the bar, the killer who was still talking and laughing before. Now his whole body was charred, and he fell to the ground. Obviously, he was struck by lightning and died directly. And the few people standing next to the killer were strangely unharmed. What's going on? Okita Tsuji blinked in a daze. Is there really a punishment from heaven? She was completely confused. After a long time, she reacted. How could there be a punishment from heaven? If there were, how could there be any bad guys? Moreover, this is definitely not a coincidence. Otherwise, Sumo's words cannot be explained. Therefore, there is only one truth. Master, how did you do it? The Kendo girl immediately hugged Sumo's arm curiously, her eyes shining brightly. You can actually control thunder and lightning. Could it be that, Master? You are actually very strong? What you said before was just a test of me. You want to see if my loyalty is enough to become your servant. Since ancient times, control of thunder and lightning has been the authority of gods. Seeing this scene, she couldn't help but think too much. However, she seemed to be overthinking it. I just awakened my old power a little bit. Su Mo waved his hand. Only then did he release the magic channel in his body. However, it is indeed much stronger than before. After the magic channel in the body is released, connected with the command spell, a large amount of magic power immediately poured into the line, connecting the magic power between the master and the servant. Originally, Sumo's body was very lacking in magic power. Although it can satisfy Tsuji Okita's realization, it is nothing more than that. But now, after merging all the power of Su Mo in the foggy space, the magic power above the dragon vein level is like a reservoir filled with water. Following the magic channel, it poured into Okita Tsuji's body. For Su Mo, the magical power was insignificant and even difficult to detect. But Tsuji Okita was filled up in an instant. Master, you have too much magic power. For a moment, Okita Tsuji, who had never had so much magic power, couldn't bear it. Her body was already weak. After suffering this unexpected impact, he immediately fell helplessly into Sumo's arms. A somewhat unnatural hum came from the nasal cavity. The cheeks gradually became rosy. Anyway, the atmosphere became a little strange. A few minutes later, Chapter 190, Okita Tsuji finally recovered. At this time, the magic power in her body reached its limit. Feel the power within yourself. The Kendo girl was in a daze. Master, who are you? Even she, the mysterious and weak scum of modern society. Under the natural infusion of Su Mo's magic power, they all reached a level. All other abilities are at level A or above. Let her face turn from a weak scumbag to that of a top-notch servant in an instant. Just providing magic power brought about such a big improvement. It's simply outrageous. Also, you call this getting a little stronger? Okita Tsuji felt that the common sense given by the Holy Grail had been completely overturned. This is a little bit, it's literally hundreds of millions. Regarding Okita's question, Su Mo spread his hands. I'm just a passing demon king. Very ordinary. The demon king is not ordinary. Okita Tsuji immediately complained when Su Mo used the power of Lord of the Sky to summon thunder. Fuyuki City Center is the most luxurious business district. The highest floor of the Hyatt Regency Hotel on the 32nd floor. Boom! After hearing the dull thunder, one of the 12 lords of the clock tower and a participant in the Holy Grail War, the magician named Kenneth frowned as he looked at the direction from which the lightning came. At this time, there will be lightning? Although I feel a little strange about this celestial phenomenon. However, his major subjects are mineral science and spiritual science, and he has no research on astronomical phenomena. In addition, on weekdays, sunny weather, drought, and thunder occasionally occur. So he didn't care much. But his followers noticed something was wrong. Golden brilliance gradually gathered around Kenneth. The handsome-looking servant reminded Kenneth beside him, "Master, this thunder and lightning is extraordinary." Kenneth looked at his servant with some confusion. "Are you even attracted? It's really unusual to see that thunder and lightning." He chose immediately, trusting the judgment of his servants. "Lancer, do you see anything?" Hear the words. The servant behind Kenneth walked towards the window. Staring at the sky in the distance, Lancer looked hesitant as he noticed something. "Master, I seem to sense the aura of the gods in it." He reported his findings. In the modern era, the age of gods has long faded and the gods have disappeared. If anyone says that he has sensed the aura of the gods, it must be just the ravings of a madman. However, Kenneth has great trust in the judgment of his servants. Moreover, it is indeed possible for the aura of the gods to exist only at this point in time. Could it be that other masters also summon servants related to gods? It seems that I can no longer take those mediocre people lightly. Even though he said so. However, Kenneth, with his slicked back hair, showed a confident expression on his face. That is the confidence to win. Even if others summon demigod-level servants, they will definitely win. 165 Tokiomi Tosaka wants to die when Kenneth noticed this thunder. In the other direction, the Gosen family in Fuyuki City. The managers of the local spiritual veins are also the family of magicians who founded the Holy Grail War. Tosaka family. The atmosphere at this time was a bit strange. The man who has always upheld the tradition of elegance and always presented himself as a noble is also the current head of the Tosaka family, Tokiomi Tosaka. Now he is looking at the sofa in the living room in front of him with a complicated expression. Behind his back, his wife Tosaka Aoi, who had a gentle face, brought the freshly made dinner to the table. And in front of him, a petite 7-year-old daughter with cute twin tails who is still in elementary school. Tosaka Rin was lying on the sofa watching TV. Although the posture is not very elegant, the appearance of chewing potato chips while drinking happy water is not ladylike either. However, just looking at this scene may make people think that this is an ordinary warm family, although this is actually the case. However, there is one caveat. The Tosaka family is a family of magicians and one of the 3 royal families. Tokiomi Tosaka is also a participant in this Holy Grail War. Although the Holy Grail War has not officially started yet, but there is only one day left. In any case, there is no need to leave the family in Fuyuki City, a dangerous place. The Holy Grail War does not pay attention to morality and humanity. There is no such thing as bringing harm to the family. And with the power of the servants, the defense of an ordinary magician's magic studio is simply not enough. Even Tosaka Tokiomi himself was not confident that he could withstand the attack of his servants. So, no matter what, send your wife and daughter to a safe place. This is the choice a careful and elegant gentleman should make. Tokiomi Tosaka's initial plan was indeed this. However, after successfully summoning the servant, this plan was completely ruined. Not only his plans were ruined, even the elegance he had always wanted to uphold was a little difficult to maintain. However, even so, Tokiomi Tosaka didn't intend to give up either. Remember the Tosaka family's motto, "Be elegant." After repeating this sentence many times in my mind, Tosaka Tokiomi finally calmed down. The expression on his face also relaxed a lot. It's like rushing to the execution ground. Tokiomi Tosaka stepped forward and then showed a very gentle smile. Looking at his daughter, he called warmly, "Rin, it's time to eat. Be good. Stop watching TV." For him was always played the role of a strict father. Speaking in this tone made him feel slightly awkward. However, now he can overcome this. And under his gentle call, his most lovable daughter, the most lively and lovely daughter, and the most filial daughter. She raised her eyes and glanced at her father. The young Rin spoke softly. The silver bell-like baby voice is very cute. She said, "Silly pie, get out. You're blocking me from watching TV." Tosaka Tokiomi's elegant smile collapsed instantly. His face turned the color of pig liver. He knew it. He knew it would be like this. Chapter 191. How the hell did you talk to your father? Tosaka Tokiomi wanted to roar like this. But, after thinking it over carefully, he still endured it. He had to endure it. So, Tasaka Tokiomi immediately switched to a respectful attitude. He lowered his proud head to his daughter in front of him. "Sorry, Goddess Ishtar, I offended you." He apologized. He apologized to his daughter. Although the object of the apology was not the young Rin, there is no doubt that this action destroyed the father's majesty. Tasaka Tokiomi felt that he might never be able to raise his head in front of his daughter. But it doesn't matter. In order to get to the root, everything is worth it, he thought with tears in his tiger eyes. "If you know you are offending me, get out of here. Don't block my picture." The young Tasaka Rin, or the goddess Ishtar, scolded Tasaka Tokiomi in front of him. "Yes." Tasaka Tokiomi obediently moved away, looking at his daughter, who was still in elementary school, in front of him, even though he still felt a little bit unbelievable. But he had already accepted this. The heroic spirit he summoned possessed his own daughter, compared to the heroic spirit possessing his own daughter. In fact, what he couldn't accept even more was that the servant in front of him actually called herself a goddess. This was absolutely impossible. The status of the gods was much higher than that of the heroic spirit. It itself was a mysterious gathering, and it was the existence that magicians dreamed of. The ritual of summoning heroic spirits should not summon gods. Although, when arranging the heroic spirit summoning ceremony, Tasaka Tokiomi himself lost the chain and dropped the holy relic. Although at that time his young daughter, Tosaka Rin, broke in for some reason and fell in the center of the summoning circle. But none of this should be the reason for summoning the goddess Ishtar. According to Ishtar, his daughter, Tosaka Rin, seemed to be very special as the catalyst for summoning her, and the compatibility was unexpectedly good. So much so that she, who was bored, became interested and came down to the world on purpose. But Tosaka Tokiomi did not understand this. He knew very well that his daughter was a genius, but that should be only a genius in magic. He did not know whether his daughter had the qualifications of a shrine maiden to accommodate the soul of a goddess. But the fact was that, and it was useless even if he did not want to admit it. Thinking of this, he sighed. "Tokiomi." The wife behind him called out with expectation. As a mother, Tosaka Aoi did not want her daughter to be hungry, even if her daughter was possessed by a goddess or something. But the body was always cold. What if she was hungry? Sensing Tosaka Aoi's maternal gaze, Tosaka Tokiomi sighed. As a man, if he did not stand up at this time and could not satisfy his wife's most ordinary wish, as a gentleman, he would definitely be disqualified. So, the dignity of the pregnant woman as a husband and the dignity of a father. Tosaka Tokiomi stood up. Urine. Ishtar glanced at him unhappily. Her voice was deliberately prolonged, and her wine-red eyes were slightly angry. Very cute, but also scary. Facing Ishtar in this posture, Tasaka Tokiomi made up his mind that he couldn't go on like this. He stood up, but he didn't stand up completely. The detailed description is, bang. This is the sound of the knee hitting the floor. He knelt down. Although it was one knee, he still knelt down, according to the etiquette of the nobility to meet the dignitary. Tasaka Tokiomi half knelt down and bowed deeply to his daughter. "Goddess Ishtar, please forgive me for my presumption, but now it's time to eat. Even if you don't need to eat, please consider your daughter's health." He gave such advice, but there was no response for a long time. Tasaka Tokiomi raised his head carefully. He saw Urine with a helpless and flustered expression. "Damn it, Zero, please give me flowers." Zero, his heart sank, but he didn't dare to ask. Who knows if it was a prank by the goddess? However, according to Murphy's Law, the situation in front of him must be the worst one. The little girl in front of him is really not Ishtar. The little Rin, who is a primary school student in front of him, looked at the scene of her father kneeling. After being at a loss for a long time, he stammered, Father, I am Rin." Tasaka Tokiomi closed his eyes. Tasaka Tokiomi wanted to die. Tasaka Tokiomi opened his eyes again. As if nothing had happened, he stood up, and his daughter across from him called out, "Then come to eat. Your mother's food is almost cold." "Oh." Tasaka Rin nodded cautiously. She didn't dare to ask about the previous things. The father and daughter tacitly didn't mention the previous kneeling. If you don't mention it, it didn't happen. My father's dignity is still there. The two thought so. Then, he added a suffix in his mind. Probably. Halfway through the meal. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous noise was heard. Tosaka Tokiomi frowned. But his noble upbringing made him not stop, but choose to continue eating. However, opposite him, Rin Tosaka looked curiously in the direction of the thunder. She gently jumped down from the chair and leaned on the window to look out. Such behavior was really too inelegant. As a noble upbringing, no matter what the situation, one should not change his face or heart. He lamented in his heart that his daughter still lacked aristocratic education. Tosaka Tokiomi sighed, and then shouted to Rin Tosaka with a fatherly majesty. Rin! Usually at this time, his daughter would find out her mistake. Then she would admit her mistake to him obediently. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Rin, who was leaning on the window, turned her head back and spoke eloquently. Chapter 192, Shut up, you idiot! Why is it you again? Saka Tokiomi was very angry, but he didn't dare to talk back. Ishtar continued to look at the window and then spoke. Didn't you notice that this lightning is unusual? As she spoke, she showed a strange look. I didn't expect that there would be more than one god in such a small Holy Grail war. Is there anyone as bored as me? She was quite self-aware. The second god? Hearing Ishtar's words, Saka Tokiomi immediately frowned, although he was still a little skeptical about Ishtar's identity. However, if what the other party said was true, then the enemy he faced this time was not ordinary. Can you win? He subconsciously worried. Of course you can win. Who do you think I am? The proud voice of Ishtar replied to him. I am the most beloved daughter of the Father God. Even if I come as a heroic spirit, I am definitely not comparable to those second and third-rate gods. Want to fight against me, the mistress of heaven? Humph! They don't even have the qualifications to lick my feet. The goddess lady who symbolizes Venus is very arrogant. Oh, that's good. Tosaka Tokiomi breathed a sigh of relief. At this point, the victory of the Holy Grail War is almost tied to the life of his daughter. Whether it is out of father's love, the wish of a magician, or the continuation of the Tosaka family. He hopes that Ishtar is really as good as she said. 166 confident Miss Okita and sweet flower stuffed chicken Su Mo's side. After solving the murderer, Okita Suji, who feels that he has become much stronger, still doesn't know who his master is. But she has a rough idea of the power that Su Mo possesses. In short, it is the kind of super strong and invincible. Moreover, she also learned that Su Mo had changed his mind and was ready to join the Holy Grail War to seize the Holy Grail. No problem. If it were me now, I would definitely bring victory to my master. Miss Okita patted her chest with confidence. After being strengthened by Su Mo's magic, Okita Suji felt that he was good enough. All A-level ability values. Even if he only relied on normal attacks, he could suppress other heroic spirits. Not to mention, he also had sword skills and treasures. As long as it was one-on-one, she felt that her chance of winning was still very high. As long as the plan was proper. With a little help from the master, she felt that she could win. Seeing Miss Okita's confident look, Su Mo was silent for a moment. Then I look forward to your performance. Su Mo's tone was obviously insincere when he said this. He really didn't believe in her fighting ability. But after all, it was the child's heart. Just take it seriously for now. 3-1-0. Okita Suji naturally didn't know what Su Mo thought. After getting the master's recognition, she was obviously happier. Then let's go back quickly. I brought a lot of snacks for Sakura. Said so. The lively Sakura Saber took Su Mo's hand and rushed to their base. Soon, the two returned to the base camp. In a huge mansion, there were 3 big words written on the door of the mansion. Matu Residence. This is the main house of the Matu family, one of the 3 great families. Originally, it should have been controlled by the head of the Matu family, Matu Zoken. However, as a time traveler, Su Mo naturally did not forget to complete the necessary task of the insect killer to save Sakura. Before entering the foggy space, after summoning the servant, Su Mo took Okita Suji, and the two of them had a perfect assassination together. Although Matu Zoken's life-saving secret technique is strong, it can't defend against the power of the mystic eyes of death. Under the gaze of the mystic eyes of death, Su Mo easily found the real dead point of Matuzoken. Killed his natal insect with one blow. Completely ended the life of this old beast that had been lingering for hundreds of years. Also succeeded before Sakura was thrown into the insect pool for transformation. Saved the little girl. Sakura, I'm back. After pushing open the door, the lively Miss Okita shouted loudly. As soon as the voice fell. Soon, a sound of trotting was heard. The cute little girl, who was only 6 years old and obviously still a little girl, ran over. Brother Su Mo, Sister Okita, welcome back. After seeing the two, Sakura showed a relieved expression and a happy smile on her face. For the two heroes who saved her. Sakura was grateful from the bottom of her heart. Although she had never been exposed to transformation before, in order to intimidate Sakura to be obedient, Matuzoken took her to the insect warehouse several times. Just witnessing it can cause psychological trauma in people. Sakura didn't know what it felt like to experience it herself. Fortunately, she didn't need to know. Having been rescued by the two people in front of her, she could now stay away from those disgusting bugs. It seems that Sakura is very well behaved and didn't run around. Okita, who likes children, immediately hugged Sakura. After rubbing against her cutely, he handed her the snacks he bought. This is a gift I specially sold to Sakura. Sakura was very happy to receive the gift. Thank you, Okita-san. Then, I looked at the contents of the convenience bag. The petite little girl tilted her head in confusion. But why are there so many empty boxes? She asked with a curious look on her face. Well, the Kendo girl was silent. Miss Okita's big crisis. This is a complicated reason involving various adults. She tried to be cute. However, Sakura noticed something. Sister Okita, there are marks on your mouth that you haven't wiped clean. She said honestly. Wow, this. I just wanted to help you taste it, Sakura. I definitely didn't finish it by accident. Okita Suji wiped his mouth in a panic and then hurriedly defended. There are no words like 300 tales of silver here. I'm afraid I can't even fool a 3-year-old child. But, so that's it, Sakura knows. Sakura nodded obediently, looking like she was convinced. Su Mo couldn't help but look over curiously. Then he saw Sakura blinking at him with a smile on her face. Obviously, he saw through Okita's behavior, but he just didn't want to expose it. Chapter 193, Su Mo was speechless. He looked at Okita Suji, who looked relieved and thought he had really gotten away with it. Then he looked at Sakura, who was only 6 years old but could react appropriately and comfort Okita. Which one was the older sister and which one was the younger sister? At this moment, it was a little hard to tell, although he brought snacks for Sakura. But the main meal still had to be eaten. Okita Suji couldn't cook, and Su Mo didn't know how to cook. However, after absorbing the experience of the Miss Space, he had a lot of experience in cooking. However, after Su Mo said that he was going to cook this time, Okita Suji showed a very expectant expression. Sakura objected nervously. Mom said that cooking is a girl's job. Brother Su Mo only needs to think about the main business. Leave these small things to Sakura. When Sakura mentioned her mother, her tone was a little complicated. Although she knew that it was not her mother's intention to send her away, she still had resentment after all. You will be scolded for saying this in a few decades. Su Mo couldn't help but complain. Sakura didn't quite understand. Okita Suji, who was standing by, felt as if he had been shot in the knee. So, I, who can't cook, am not actually a girl? Miss Saber grumbled. But the other two ignored her. But no matter what, it doesn't look good to let a 6-year-old girl cook for the two of us adults. Su Mo raised an objection. Sakura's cooking skills are only at the beginner's level, but better than him and Okita Suji before. However, watching a 6-year-old girl standing on a stool, tiptoeing to cook for the two of them. No matter how you look at it, it feels like bullying a child. But I like to cook for my brother and sister, Sakura said seriously, as her only irreplaceable value now. Seeing Su Mo and Okita eating the food she cooked, Sakura was very happy. If the cooking is left to Su Mo, she always felt that she had no unique value. Maybe she would be replaced because she was useless, just like being abandoned by her father. So, she had a sense of uneasiness. Seeing Sakura's stubborn eyes, Su Mo roughly guessed her thoughts. She had just been abandoned, so she would naturally rely on herself and Okita who saved her. And she didn't want them to abandon her too. So, Sakura was so persistent. After thinking about it, Su Mo smiled gently. Sakura is right. We don't have much time to spend on cooking. Hearing this, Sakura immediately smiled. Then, Su Mo immediately added, but it's not good to let Sakura cook alone. Why not? Let Sakura and I work together for the time being. Let's prepare the food together. And when Sakura grows up, I'll leave the cooking to you. Hearing this proposal, Miss Okita immediately became energetic. Great! She applauded in agreement. She was naturally very happy to be able to eat the food of two people. I understand. Although Sakura was a little unwilling, she knew that Sumo's words made sense. So, she nodded. She made up her mind to surpass Brother Su Mo in cooking. At least, she wanted to make Brother Su Mo's stomach inseparable from her. That's it. The determined little girl showed her best cooking level. Then, she was beaten by Su Mo's cooking. This sweet flour stuffed chicken is delicious. Matsutake's stuffed meat roll is also delicious. And this fried egg, it's just an ordinary fried egg. Why do I taste the taste of having experienced hundreds of battles and life and death? Master, is your cooking so strong? Miss Okita licked her plate clean while tears streaming down her face. Sakura thought this performance was too exaggerated at first, but when she tasted Su Mo's cooking herself, she immediately found that Sister Okita's evaluation was actually very pertinent. Although it was not a peerless delicacy, but the heat of these 3-0 dishes was very well controlled, just like it had been tempered 1,000 times. In comparison, Xiao Ying's cooking, which she had just learned not long ago, was far behind. Nothing special, just practice makes perfect. In response to the surprised looks of the two, Su Mo could only give this answer. In fact, these are the only dishes I am good at. I've become more skilled after cooking many times. The other dishes are not very good. These dishes are all the cooking skills that I have honed in the wild in the world of Genshin Impact. The conditions in the wild are simple, so he can only control the heat very well. Other aspects are actually average. It can't be called a masterpiece, but it is better than ordinary restaurants. Seeing Xiao Ying with a frustrated look, Su Mo rubbed her little head with some laughter. Do you want to learn? Xiao Ying immediately raised her head and showed a shining look. I will teach you. Su Mo made a promise. Brother Su Mo is the best. Xiao Ying immediately became happy. She was not happy because she could learn cooking. It is because Su Mo's behavior means that he really wants me to make these dishes in the future. That is to say, Brother Su Mo still needs me. If he needs me, he will not abandon me. 167 Nameless Third Stage. Puff. After dinner, Sakura cleaned up the dishes in the restaurant. It seems that there were no dishwashers in this era. Su Mo and Okita Suji, as usual, came to the courtyard. Master, it's time to start. Holding his beloved sword Kaga Kayamizu, Okita Suji took a lower stance and looked serious. She has always been like this when it comes to swordsmanship. No problem. Su Mo nodded and held the sword with one hand. The power I awakened before also includes swordsmanship, so you can go all out. The two are practicing swordsmanship. Since summoning Okita Suji, he has been learning swordsmanship from this kendo girl. Before, although he was also very proficient in the Nanaya-style assassination technique. However, the Nanaya-style assassination technique mainly involves physical skills and dagger techniques. The use of this dangerous short weapon is different from swordsmanship. He didn't know much about swordsmanship before, but now, after sharing his own swordsmanship in the pirate world, Su Mo has reached the level of a great swordsman in kendo. In terms of pure swordsmanship, he no longer needs the guidance of Okita Suji. He can even serve as a teacher to guide Okita Suji. However, he does not intend to give up learning. Not to mention that the swordsmanship style of the natural rational flow does have many advantages. It is completely different from the bold and majestic swordsmanship style of the pirate world. The sword skills of Okita alone are worth learning. Ding, 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 ding. The blades emit dense metal 05 collision sounds. Chapter 190, for even though Su Mo deliberately suppressed his power, he still had the upper hand in the sword-to-blade confrontation. Okita Tsuji didn't expect it. What Su Mo said about awakening the power of swordsmanship was so outrageous. In one leap, she was promoted from a beginner to a realm of great swordsmen that even she had not reached. After resisting hard for a while, she stepped back. The technique called Shuchi allowed her to escape from the battle in an instant. Facing the master in front of him, he was countless times stronger than before. The swordsman side of Okita Tsuji also rarely aroused his competitive spirit. "Master, please pay attention. Miss Okita is about to use her special move," the heroic Kendo girl reminded Su Mo. She knew that her strength was definitely not as good as Su Mo. However, this is a battle of sword skills, and the master will naturally not use extraordinary power. Therefore, she was worried about Su Mo being injured and felt it was necessary to ask the master to pay attention. After all, this was just a sparring match, and she didn't want to hurt such a good master. Hearing Okita's words, Su Mo nodded. "Don't worry, I'm ready." He had been waiting for Tsuji Okita's move for a long time. In the past, it was because the foundation of swordsmanship was not enough, so we had to start from the basics. Now that my swordsmanship level has exceeded the standard, I am fully capable of learning that magic sword move. Good. Seeing that the master is ready, the Kendo girl showed a stern smile. "This is my strongest sword, master. Please see clearly." As she spoke, she put on a straight-eyed stance. This is one of the starting positions of swordsmanship in preparation for thrusting. The aura on Okita Tsuji gradually grew stronger, like a sharp sword that could pierce through everything. Then, she started to move. 1-step ultrasound, 2 steps without a break, 3-step sword. There was obviously a distance of 6 or 7 meters. However, Okita only needed 3 steps to reach Su Mo. The girl who was originally lively and cute now has a dignified temperament. The momentum is brewed before the sword is drawn. Reaching its peak in this moment, the Kendo girl aimed at the sword in Su Mo's hand. Then, finally, the real attack began. Unnamed third paragraph. Poof! Ms. Okita used a special skill. Miss Okita was about to draw her sword. Miss Okita went straight to the street. Boom! The Kendo girl fell directly to the ground, with blood spurting out of her mouth. The sword skills are useless. She is already useless. Su Mo looked at the girl lying on the ground in front of him, speechlessly. Even though I had thought that this would happen, I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. He sighed and leaned down. He hugged Tsuji Okita. "Are you okay, Okita?" I asked with concern. "No, it's okay." The disgraced Kendo girl shook her head. "This is an old problem of mine. Because Okita Tsuji was seriously ill when he was alive. Moreover, he died in his 20s. Therefore, people's impression of her has always been that of being sickly and weak. Therefore, when she came as a servant, she also gained an A-level inherent skill, sickness. All actions carry the risk of sudden weakness. It's something like a curse. This skill once occurs at a critical moment. The situation just now will occur." Suddenly, he vomited blood. Then he threw himself directly into the street and fell to the ground. Therefore, Su Motsai didn't believe in Okita Tsuji's combat effectiveness before. He recognized her swordsmanship prowess. But with this sickness, there is no way to go into actual combat. "Oh, Sister Okita." On the other side, Sakura had already put away the tableware and was watching the two of them practice swordsmanship. I also noticed the situation here. Although she had seen him several times, she was still a little flustered. Hot water and towels that had been prepared long ago were immediately brought out from the room. Su Mo carried Tsuji Okita back to the corridor. "Master, I never thought that one day I would be held by a princess." Okita Tsuji felt a little embarrassed hiding in Su Mo's arms. "Actually, there's no need to be so nervous. Just let me rest for a few minutes and I'll be fine." Okita Tsuji is already very experienced with her own body. Just take a break and you'll be fine in no time. Sickness, this inherent skill, is very fatal once it strikes. However, as long as the attack is over, nothing will happen. There's really no need to worry too much. Even so, I can't live up to Sakura's feelings. Besides, even if there are no sequelae, the attack will still be very painful. right? Looking at Okita Tsuji, who was obviously a little weak, Su Mo naturally would not listen to her words, but insisted on carrying her to the floor and lying down. Sakura, who looked worried, was busy applying hot towels to Okita Tsuji. Feel the relationship between the two. Tsuji Okita was very moved. Master, Sakura. She hesitated whether to tell the two of them that she was actually fine now. After receiving the super powerful magic power supply from the master, the time required for his recovery has been greatly shortened. But after thinking about it, she saw Sakura's worried eyes. She felt that the master's words were right. So, after thanking her, she followed Sakura's command obediently and leaned against the pillar of the corridor. Then, she thought of her performance just now. She couldn't help but cover her face. Miss Okita failed. She wanted to show her handsome side to the master. Unexpectedly, she lost the chain at the critical moment. The sword skills that had been brewing for half a day were not brought into play. Instead, she fell down in shame. So embarrassing. Miss Sakura Saber looked disappointed. In terms of swordsmanship, she is no longer as good as the master, and even her treasured sword skills have not shown their power. Could it be that the value of her greatest teaching of swordsmanship is gone? Then what else can she do? If teaching swordsmanship is useless, could it be that Miss Okita will become a comedian? Just as she was thinking so sadly, Su Mo on the side spoke. That move just now looked very good. If you have a good rest, can you teach me? He looked at Okita Tsuji in front of him seriously, although the girl did not use this sword skill. However, Su Mo has a good understanding of the treasure held by Okita, the anti-human magic sword called Unknown 3-Stage Stab. Chapter 195 in essence, it is just 3 swift stabs. However, with unparalleled skills and speed, Okita Tsuji made these 3 thrusts happen at the same time. It was not a horizontal thrust performed almost at the same time, but completely at the same time. The moment when the 3 thrusts were launched. The first thrust, the second thrust, and the third thrust existed at the same position at the same time. Even if the first thrust was blocked, the second thrust and the third thrust would penetrate the same position. Due to such a contradiction, the tip of the sword would cause phenomenon collapse. In essence, the 3-stage thrust became an undefended sword technique. Using the phenomenon collapse caused by it, this move is also excellent in destroying objects. If Sasaki Kojiro's magic sword is a secret sword that cannot be dodged, Okita Tsuji's magic sword is a secret sword that cannot be defended. Although Su Mo himself possesses the mystic eyes of death perception that can also ignore defense. However, if you can reach this level by simply using sword skills, you still need to learn. After hearing Su Mo's words, Okita Tsuji looked up in surprise. For some reason, he showed a tearful, puppy-like expression. Master, you are so nice. I know that Master understands me the best. Regardless of her own image, she hugged Su Mo's thighs directly. My secret sword is really strong. Master will definitely learn it. Great, I can still teach Master swordsmanship, and I don't have to become a comedian. It was obviously Su Mo who wanted to learn her sword skills. For some reason, the girl in front of him looked grateful. Seeing her performance, Su Mo was a little confused. 168 Matu Magic and the last master after playing. Okita Tsuji quickly returned to his usual liveliness. The influence of sickness had long passed. She tried again and used the anti-human magic sword. This time she was lucky and the curse was not activated. So, under her step-by-step explanation, Su Mo began to learn this sword skill. Originally, Su Mo's kendo level was very high. Under the detailed explanation of Okita Tsuji, the developer of the sword skill, naturally, he quickly mastered the key points of nameless 3-stage stab. Although for a while, he was not able to use this sword skill directly. However, it was only a matter of time to master this move thoroughly. In addition to the magic sword, nameless 3-stage stab, Okita Tsuji's Shrinking the Earth skill is also a very good melee skill. Shrinking the Earth can instantly shorten the distance between the opponent and the opponent, almost compressing the space. It is the ultimate step in martial arts. Okita Tsuji's skill is level B. It is already quite practical in melee. It is this skill that ensures that nameless 3-stage stab can hit the enemy. Just like Chidori is best used with Sharingan. Nameless 3-stage stab should also be used with shrinking the earth to ensure that the enemy is hit. Moreover, if the skill, shrinking the earth, can reach the A level, it can even reach the level of dimension jump. That is completely in the realm of immortal arts. Luo Hao, the martial arts king of the God Slayer world, is estimated to have reached this level at this point. Su Mo, who wants to learn the magic sword. Naturally, he will not give up this skill. Under the explanation of Okita Tsuji, he has been practicing the cooperation of shrinking the earth and nameless 3-stage stab. I have to say, after sharing the power of other Su Mo, he has improved a lot in both talent and understanding. For the learning of sword skills and steps, the speed is very fast. In about an hour, he has mastered the basic skills. As long as the proficiency is kept up, he will be able to reach the level of Okita Tsuji sooner or later, even surpass her level. The two were in the courtyard. They practiced until about 9 o'clock in the evening before stopping. At this time, Sakura, who had been guarding the two of them, was already sleepy. Children need longer sleep. Notice this. The two smiled at each other. Okita Tsuji stepped forward and picked up the little girl, although her movements were very gentle. However, Sakura, who was very sensitive to the outside world, still woke up. After seeing that it was Okita Tsuji and Su Mo in front of her, she felt relieved. Have brother Su Mo and sister Okita finished practicing? She rubbed her eyes and asked. Yeah. Okita Tsuji nodded. It's time to sleep, Sakura. Go back to your room and sleep first. She held Sakura and prepared to take her to the bedroom. Sakura asked in confusion, won't brother Su Mo and sister Okita come to sleep together? After all, she is a child. She was just rescued from the Devil's Cave, and she still felt a little uneasy. Only with Su Mo or Okita Tsuji can she sleep. This is why, no matter how sleepy she is, she has to sit on the edge of the courtyard and watch Su Mo and the two practice. Only by watching the two of them can she feel safe. Hearing her say this, Okita Tsuji looked at Su Mo. Su Mo touched Sakura's little head. We still have to wait a while before we can go to bed. There are still things to prepare. If Sakura is scared, come with us and sleep in the study for a while. He didn't intend to disappoint Sakura. However, he didn't intend to change his pace. Since the child was still a little scared, let her stay by his side, even if she might sleep a little worse. But compared to this, psychological stability is more important. Su Mo didn't intend to leave a psychological shadow on Sakura. Sakura was very happy to hear him say that. Yeah, thank you, brother Su Mo. I will be good and won't disturb you, brother. So, the three of them came to the study. Su Mo read by lamplight at night, looking at the magic materials of the Matu family. Okita helped to find books on the side. Sakura was indeed, as she said. She was very quiet and well-behaved, sitting on the sofa in the study, opening her eyes from time to time. After seeing Su Mo's figure, she fell asleep again with peace of mind, looking at the little girl in front of him, breathing as shallowly as a kitten. Okita Tsuji shook his head. It's not easy for Sakura either. She's such a lovely child, but she has such an experience. Okita Tsuji couldn't understand why he abandoned such a lovely daughter. This child is very insecure now. As long as you spend more time with her, she won't be left with too many psychological scars. Su Mo understood Sakura's condition. He already had plans for Sakura's future development. After the Holy Grail War is over, just take Sakura back to my house. It should be much better with Emerald, Amber, and Akiba accompanying her. Anyway, the Tono family is big, so it's okay to raise another girl. After hearing what he said, Okita Tsuji was relieved. Master is really reliable. Chapter 196 with Su Mo here. She wasn't worried about Sakura's future. After sighing in admiration, she looked at the information in Su Mo's hand with some curiosity. But why did Master suddenly look at these magic materials? She remembered that Su Mo was not interested in these things before. The power I awakened also contains magic-related power. Su Mo replied casually. Besides, the Matu family's magic information is of great use to me. The magic that the Matu family is good at is creating and controlling familiars. The command spell system in the Holy Grail War was developed by Matu Skin when he was young. The magic he is good at tends to be of the type of coercion and restriction. Besides, the water-based magic that the Matu family is good at has the property of absorption. For Su Mo, these are all useful powers. Not to mention, as one of the 3 royal families responsible for building the servant system in the Holy Grail War, the Matu family also has complete information on the summoning of heroic spirits. These things are very useful to me in the world of Godslayer. Of course, he won't let it go. Be prepared to read and study them all. Has the physical bonus of the Godslayer. He learned magic no slower than swordsmanship. However, the amount of magic information accumulated by the Matu family over hundreds of years is not a small amount. It takes several days to fully digest and understand. That's why he needs to burn the midnight oil and fight. After reading the relevant information on the heroic spirit summoning system in my hand, only then did Su Mo remember something. There are 7 servants in the Holy Grail War. Although I have one more spot now, I have already eliminated Ryuno Sukyu, and Korea Matu will not be able to summon Berserker. In other words, it is unknown whether there is another master. Although he summoned Saber first, he only occupied 1 seat. However, due to his own actions, 2 seats are now vacant. That is to say, except for the Tasaka family, the Einsborn family, the church, Kenneth Weber, and myself, the 6 positions of people. There will also be an unknown master appearing. I don't know who it will be. If the situation of the original work is followed, it might be surprising that he is an ordinary person. Just like Ryunosuke Ubu, he is not a magician per se and has no qualifications. The reason for summoning the servants to participate in the Holy Grail War. It was just because there were too few magicians willing to participate in the war, so the Holy Grail just found a spare tire. Tomorrow is the last day. If a qualified master cannot be found, the Holy Grail will probably be chosen at random. After saying this, Su Mo's expression was quite unconcerned. He knew that after he summoned Saber, other servants would inevitably change due to the chain effect. However, with his current strength, he doesn't need to care too much about the power of his followers. Unless a follower such as a god or demigod is summoned, it is possible to surprise him a little. Heroic spirits from other eras. I heard Su Mo say this. Okita Tsuji also showed a yearning expression. The Holy Grail War is really wonderful, but no matter how strong there are, I will do my best to bring victory to the master. With that said, Miss Okita cheered herself up. However, because of her previous experience, she did not dare to say that she would definitely win. Just say try your best. It seems that Miss Okita has also grown up. Su Mo stayed up late at night to read. It was about 10:30 when I put down the magic materials in my hands. With his current physical condition, even if he doesn't sleep, he won't lose energy. However, due to habit, he was still prepared to rest. On the other side, Okita Tsuji carried Sakura, who was already asleep, back to the room next to Su Mo. When the last light goes out, Matadi fell into a deep sleep. About half an hour passed. Okita Tsuji, who originally didn't need sleep, fell into a light sleep temporarily. Sakura, who was lying next to her, opened her eyes silently. Brother Su Mo, Sister Okita, they, the good ones, are all preparing for the Holy Grail War. After hearing the conversation between the two, Sakura finally understood what they had been preparing for. The well-behaved girl couldn't help but think silently. I really want to help Brother Su Mo. If Sakura can help Brother Su Mo and Sister Okita. She was still a little uneasy before. That's why I always wanted to stay somewhere where I could see the two of them. I'm afraid that one day I will open my eyes and be alone. However, while half asleep and half awake, I accidentally heard Su Mo's previous words. Xiaoying no longer worries about being abandoned by Su Mo. According to Brother Su Mo, after the Holy Grail War ended, I can go to Brother Su Mo's house and be with him forever. After hearing these words, most of her uneasiness and fear were eliminated. Instead, there was an indescribable feeling. Su Mo was so kind to her. Not only did he save her, he also didn't plan to abandon her like his father and mother. Then you have to help Brother Su Mo. A strong longing for childhood emerged in the heart of the little girl. However, she also knew that with her young body, she could not do anything. It may also be delayed. Thinking of this, she felt a little depressed. However, there is still a strong reluctance in my heart. In this mood, Sakura fell into a deep sleep without noticing. There seemed to be some mysterious red lines on the wrist of his left hand. 169 to add magic power. She is still a child early the next morning. When Sakura woke up, she saw no one around her. A familiar voice came from the courtyard. She immediately understood that Su Mo and Okita Suji should be doing morning exercises in the courtyard. Refers to practicing swordsmanship, wearing the bunny pajamas Su Mo bought for her. The little girl yawned and went to the bathroom to wash up. While washing her face, she finally discovered the abnormality in her left hand. The red lines are obviously not naturally occurring. She was obedient and well-behaved, so she naturally had no plans to hide anything. Su Mo had taught her that that would only make things worse. So, Sakura immediately put down her toothbrush and trotted over. Found Su Mo in front of the courtyard. He showed off the strange changes in his body. This is... Seeing the red mark on Sakura's wrist, Okita...
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.